And good morning. It is a Thursday edition of Glenn Clark Radio. We're there. It's NFL Draft Day. I'm going to do what's best for the team. I was actually required to watch that movie once because we were having Jennifer Garner on the radio show at the Super Bowl.
Oh, I'm sure you didn't regret it. That is a all-timer.
If I remember correctly, Luke Jones and I did not finish the film.
What do you mean, why?
We said,
how could that have been?
we're good. We're good. Thanks. But no thanks. But yeah, it is draft day, and got a lot to do on the program today. We will talk some NFL draft. Our buddy Cordell Woodland, 105.7 The Fan. He'll be hanging out with Rita and I tonight at 6 o'clock. And
We'll at least stick it out with Kevin Costner, you know.
No.
So you didn't get to the best part?
If
Did
you're
see who they
alleging
drafted?
there's a best part.
Like who they drafted?
I don't remember.
Like at the very end.
Doug, this was like 13 years ago or whatever.
No,
it was
came
11
out in
years ago.
2014.
Was it
This
14?
is the 10-year
Maybe it was
anniversary.
14. Oh, God.
We should have tracked down Jennifer Garner.
I think I'm good. I did
And
enjoy
Kevin
chatting with her,
Costner.
though. It was a lovely conversation that we had. She played in the band at West Virginia or something like that. We're talking about that. I remember the person that booked Jennifer Garner with us, like, coming by 18 times to tell us there was someone we weren't allowed to talk to her about. Some maybe romantic figure in her life. But I don't think it was Ben Affleck. I think we were allowed to talk about Ben Affleck. I think there may have been an ex. I don't remember what the story was, but I swear to God, this guy came by the table. We're like in the middle of a conversation with someone else. Lord knows who. I mean, it could have been Jacoby Jones, and this guy just like screaming, "Don't forget, you're not allowed to talk about Seth Smithson." I'm like, I don't even know who that is.
Seth Smithson.
Well, you know, whoever.
You
it
had to
was.
have asked after he brought.
I remember one time there was a girl that was like Miss America that they brought by the table, and I was like, okay, fine. You know,
This was at
the Super Bowl. They would
okay,
always do
right,
this. And one year they brought Miss America by, but I don't. And I, by the way, I could be making this up. It might not have been Miss America. It might have been someone who was on some show that I had never heard of. But like, we would put them on because the same publicist had other guests that we wanted. So this girl, maybe she was on like One Tree Hill. I don't know. But they come by and they scream at us. By the way, no Aaron Rodgers questions. I was like, well, now I've got a lot of. Before this moment,
I didn't have any.
I had 0. Now I have many questions. It's like, I guess she's dating Aaron Rodgers or dated Aaron Rodgers or I don't know, man. But yeah, Jennifer Garner was lovely person.
So
but
at
the movie,
end,
no.
So at the end,
And by the way, I don't think we asked a single question about the film.
they take the linebacker. They take Chadwick Boseman over.
Right,
#1
Chadwick
overall.
Boseman, yes.
And so at the end,
Don't.
they walk over to the desk, or somebody walks over to the desk. I want to say it was Jennifer Garner. I can't remember, but there's
Yeah.
a Post-it note on Kevin Costner's desk, and the Post-it note just says whatever Chadwick Boseman's character name was. It was this guy, no matter what.
Okay, so
And
Last-
that was the
yesterday.
big.
yesterday,
And then you got the Browns fans chanting Super Bowl.
Sure.
Super Bowl.
sure.
That's how you
Sure-
want every
sure
draft
we
night
did.
to end.
Do we have logs, by the way?
Yeah, it should be. I don't know.
I see no logs.
I definitely put it up there. Do you need me to?
I got nothing. Here's yesterday's stuff. Here's the
You didn't throw away something when you walked in, did you?
No, I did not. I have no log. I don't know what's going on here. It's okay. I think I know what I got to talk about, so it's fine. Right where? Oh, it's over there on this. I don't know what that's all about. Well, today's show is brought to you by Atman's Deli in Harbor Point. Oh, I saw my buddy Scott Wyckoff from BAL went to Atman's this morning. And I always forget, like, we should talk more about the hot dogs because the hot dogs are so good and so unique. Like, they got the one with the coleslaw and then the one with the Swiss and the mustard. Like, I apologize. I forget all the names of the various hot dogs. They're all awesome.
Vontae Mack, that was the name of the linebacker.
Sure it is. We're not going to talk any more about the film Draft Day.
We could do
ever
a whole show, I think.
again. Ugh. We're going to talk about Atman's Deli because I don't feel that way about Atman's Deli in Harbor Point. So it's not just the corned beef and the deli sandwiches and the bagels and the soups. It's everything. And, yes, the hot dogs are a big part of it. I think if I remember right, I saw Scotty Y got the walking dog this morning, which is excellent. So get to the new Atman's Deli in Harbor Point because it's everything you love about the original Atman's on Corned Beef Row, plus a full bar. AtmansDeli.com is the website. can find out more about their daily specials. You can order right there online at atmansdeli.com, but make your plans, especially if you're going to a game this weekend, to check out the new Atman's Deli in Harbor Point. The Orioles do hang on to win yesterday, 6-5. It got a little hairy. Got a little hairy. I don't even think I said who else was on the show today. Yeah, Cordell's coming up in a minute. We'll talk draft. Also, Dante Trader, Maryland safety. Their spring game is this Saturday. We'll catch you up with the McDonogh alum a little bit later on. We'll meet new Mount St. Mary's basketball coach Donny Lind a little bit later on this morning, and we will head to Bowie to chat with Dylan Beavers this morning as well. So all of that coming up on the program today. We need the marker. Where's the marker? Where is the Donde está el marcero? El marquero. Where is it? Oh, there it is right there. We want to go ahead and add the stars to Gunnar Henderson. It was tough because early on, I thought it was a gimme that Dean Kramer was going to be man of the match. He was mowing everyone down. I did not realize how elevated the pitch count was for Dean Kramer. Like, it's a little bit weird that he only got through 5 1/3 and threw 100+ pitches. I know he worked it. He got some strikeouts in full counts. He also gave up a 1 walk in a full count. And then, obviously the kind of hard contact got a little bit harder in the 6th inning. That's a bummer because it looked like it was going to be a really good start for Dean Kramer, and not that it ends up being a bad start, but it looked like it was going to be a dominant performance.
Because he had 7 innings his last start.
Yeah, it looked like it was going to more than make up for Grayson Rodriguez's struggles the other night. Again, the good news being the Orioles have the off day today, so they'll have the entire bullpen available for them, and hopefully, given the fact that they're playing the Athletics. Although I'm starting to wonder if the Athletics aren't a little more like the 3 pitchers that are pitching this weekend are all pitchers.
I think it's the best 3.
It's Blackburn,
Sears,
and who's starting tomorrow night?
I don't know who's starting tomorrow night, but
remind me, because when I looked at it, I was like, "Damn, these are all." What the hell's going on with the Athletics? Are they trying? What the hell is happening?
Ross Stripling is pitching tomorrow.
Okay, Ross Stripling.
He's 0-5 this season,
but he did once almost throw a no-hitter. So he got pulled, but he almost did it.
He's got a 5.3 ERA.
Yeah, all right. So we'll take that. We'll take the Ross Stripling.
The problem is it's on a Friday night.
It's true.
In Camden Yards.
Well, as we've discussed, Orioles not good. When they wear the going to try to tell people more about that a little bit later on. We had that conversation on the show the other day. We're going to try to tell the world the troubles of the City Connect jerseys a little bit later on. But yes, Gunnar Henderson, who was on base 5 times yesterday, including a home run and a kind of excuse me double that he just slapped down the left field line like, I didn't mean to do that. I guess I'll take it.
What are we looking for now?
There.
Wow.
Somehow the other push pin ended up, what is that? Oh, it ended up
in magnet in the charger.
Yeah, I guess that's what it is.
One of the 3 laptops you have.
But yeah, well, the story is I have to for jobbing out this week. I have to watch the AEW pay-per-view, which I have not watched.
You get to, yeah.
Yeah, sure, whatever that is. Our buddy AJ wants to do the show this week because his, of course, friend Swerve won the AEW World Championship, and I need to watch that. And it's just a whole thing. I can't get it on the app. I can only get it on the. It's a whole.
That does sound like a whole thing.
It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing that no one cares about. You know what they do care about? Gunnar Henderson. Gunnar Henderson, man of the match for the 2nd time this season, and looks like Gunnar Henderson, and looks like. Look, I mean, Juan Soto would be the MVP today, but Gunnar Henderson looks like a guy who wants to end up trying to find his way into MVP conversation before the season is over. And it was a lovely performance from Gunnar Henderson yesterday. Not great that it got so hairy. Obviously, a little controversy at the end of the game. So you're telling me the Angels announcers were not
No,
they were not thrilled.
Yeah, they weren't happy about the.
Don't blame them. I don't. I think we all saw the same thing at the end of the game. We just kind of wanted to pretend like we didn't. But I think Joe Adell was safe. I think he stole second base, and there should have been a runner in scoring position with a chance to tie the game up. But that's baseball. There is no – I don't really have the words for it. They got it wrong, I think. I think they got it wrong. I'm pretty sure they got it wrong. And we can't hide behind the it's easy for me to say, well, that's baseball, and they get other calls wrong too. They do, but that doesn't excuse any of it. It doesn't. And this is why, like, when Drew brought up yesterday, hey, what do you think about going back retroactively and changing Armando Galarraga's game to make it a no-hitter? Was it a no-hitter or was it a perfect game? Perfect game.
Yeah.
Like, what do we do? Do they wake up tomorrow and do they say, well, you guys got to fly back to Anaheim. We got to finish this game before you can fly back and play the Athletics because we got this wrong. I think games end when they end. It's like the thing we were talking about with the Knicks and the 76ers. Sixers got hosed. They got absolutely jobbed. There is no debate about it. The NBA has already admitted it. There were 2 different fouls in that inbound sequence. It's a larf. It's embarrassing. But the game ended. And I think that's the way it goes, is that once the game is over, the game is over. Now, to the point, why have a replay center if you can't get the call right? It's a conversation that's above my pay grade, man. I've been there. I have felt this. What are we doing? Everyone can see this. Why are we hiding behind the, well, maybe we can't fully tell? Like, is there any chance that if we look at this other angle that we're not as confident? We all see the same thing. I don't, it's infuriating. They have the system that's supposed to be in place to prevent this from happening. And unquestionably, if he had been called safe on the field, it would not have been overturned. We are slaves in professional sports to the call on the field and the burden of you have to overturn the call on the field versus go back, look at it, and make sure you get it right. And that's never been acceptable at any level. A lot of you guys don't like Mike Pereira. That's fine. I don't need you to like Mike Pereira. He's not a close friend of mine or anything along those lines. But I've had a good relationship with him over the years, even dating back to the time where he worked for the league. And Mike Pereira, and it infuriated me, but I remember the infamous Santonio Holmes December game in Baltimore where he stretched out the ball and, you know, it wasn't called a touchdown. It was called down inside the 1 yard line. And they went to review, and we all said, it's close, but there's no way they can overturn that. And then they did, and they called it a touchdown. I remember being infuriated about it. And that year at the Super Bowl, seeing Mike Pereira, when he was still working for the league as the head of officiating, and saying there was absolutely not clear and obvious evidence of that being a touchdown. And Mike Pereira saying to me, that's not what I tell my officials to look at. That's what the NFL says. But what I tell the officials to do is to go get the call. When you go under that hood, what do you see? Do you see touchdown? Because if you see touchdown, call touchdown. Don't allow the call on the field to become a burden. Call whatever you see. Now, I didn't like that answer, one, because I still don't know with confidence that that was a touchdown, even based on that standard. But two, I didn't like that answer because it seemed like he was making up his own rule. But the more I thought about it over the years, the more I believed it to be the correct way for it to be looked at. It is a burden. Every time you go, clear and obvious or overwhelming or whatever word you want to use, default to the call on the field unless it's like Donald Trump. There's a mountain of evidence. There couldn't be more. It's the most obvious in the history of obvious. No one could have. Every one of it. People would come up to me crying, Mr. President. Like that's the way that we describe it. It's got to be that, or else we can't overturn it. And that's not the way it should be. It should be, go look at the play. What do you see? And maybe there would be times we'll say, I see bang, bang. I see utter and complete tie. Well, our understanding is the tie goes to the runner, right? Like, that's the way that baseball has always worked. But not every circumstance allows for that. I'm not crying about it, obviously, because the Orioles won the game. And it's easier for us to say, hey, Craig Kimbrell's pitched well enough that we could believe that.
Would have figured it out.
Yes, he still would have gotten the third out. And, nobody. I'm not asking anybody to feel bad about the Orioles winning the game yesterday, but the point is the point. Like, I think they're right if the Angels broadcasters were screaming about it. Orioles do get the series win. It wasn't the most aesthetically pleasing. It was a weird – they weren't, like, dominant by any stretch of the imagination. Even on a day yesterday where it looked like they were going to be dominant, where it looked like they were going to bust that thing open and then run away, the Angels managed to get right back into that game, make it a one-run game, and could have had the tying run in scoring position in the ninth inning. But thankfully, the Orioles hold on. They come back home, and they open up the series against the Athletics on Friday, and Ryan Mountcastle was back in the lineup yesterday, so I think it's fully confirmed that he's fine and no roster move will be made there whatsoever. The next question for the Orioles becomes John Means. They have not yet announced Albert Suarez as their starter for Sunday. A little weird. He's pitched really well. They thinking about going to a six-man. I guess the word is that John Means is slated to start somewhere on Sunday. And they're about to run out of time on his rehab appearance, so they've got to make a decision. I certainly don't want to kick Albert Suarez out of the starting rotation at the moment. I have no interest in that. Going to a six-man rotation seems kind of odd. A couple of days ago, we would have just said, well, take Cole Irvin's spot. But, looked really good, obviously, on Sunday. So I don't think you are inclined to kick him out of the rotation just yet. So is the momentary answer to kind of have six starters, particularly as you don't have an off day next week with a 4-day or a 4-game series against the Yankees. Is that their thought process? John Means hasn't been overwhelming. Maybe they're worried that they can only get 3 innings out of John Means, and they want to piggyback him with Albert Suarez. There could be some sense in that, I guess. I guess the problem is none of us have any appetite for less Albert Suarez. Like, this is where we are.
And he was, on the broadcast yesterday, he was talking about how much he loves being a starter, and that's what he wants to do. Obviously, I'm sure he'll do.
Yes, I think right. Like, being in the majors is also beneficial. But, I heard the same thing on the broadcast yesterday.
So Tuesday, when John Means pitched, he went 4 1/3. He allowed 3 runs off of 7 hits, 1 walk.
Yeah, that ain't
struck out 5.
That ain't great. There's no way around that. I don't have the answer here. I don't know what to say. I guess maybe my answer would be perhaps you could. There would be a political way that you could say, hey, we'd like John, as he continues to ramp up, to pitch out of the bullpen for a minute. There would be a political way. Now, how inclined he is to agree with it, that remains to be seen. But there would be a political way to say, he still didn't have a full spring training. He's still working his way back. So for a minute, we're going to use him out of the bullpen. And then, see who turns into a pumpkin again over the course of the next couple of starts. Of course, Kyle Bradish isn't that far, is apparently not that far away either. So decisions are going to have to be made one way or the other. I don't know. Again, these are the types of things that we say are good problems to have, so long as John Means is able to be effective at once again this season. These are definitely good problems to have, but there might be a political way to go about this to either say for now John Means is going to be a piggyback starter, and to say to Albert Suarez, well, you're essentially a starter too. You're just coming in the fourth inning because we're doing a piggyback thing. Or to go to John Means and say, hey, for political reasons, we're not demoting you. We're just trying to, as you continue to ramp up, this is the way that we're going to use you. I would assume that if you're going to do that, he would say, well, let me start the first 3 innings instead of not knowing when I'm coming into the game. But all of it's tough, again, because you just don't want less Albert Suarez. It's also, to me, it's plausible that you go to essentially a 6-man rotation next week, with the exception of Corbin Burns as the one guy that starts on normal rest. Like, you rotate it around Corbin Burns. Burns is starting on Friday, so then he would start again, on Thursday? So Saturday, so
Wednesday.
Wednesday, yes, yeah. Wednesday. So you rotate this around him. He starts Friday and Wednesday, and then the other 5 guys go around that, right? Like that, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then whoever it would be, I guess it would be Kramer because he pitched yesterday, wouldn't pitch again until next Thursday. Now that's a long time to go between starts, but so it is. Like that, or whichever one of these guys, maybe it's Means that you say, all right, Suarez pitches Sunday, you're available out of the bullpen, but you're slated to make your first start next Thursday. I don't know how they go about handling that, but that's the debate. They got to get that figured out. All right, we're going to talk some NFL draft here in 1 second. Today's show also brought to you by your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. They're proud sponsors of County Sports Zone. CountySports.zone is the website for all of the latest in local high school sports. Scores, schedules, rankings. You can play pick'em, baseball, softball, boys and girls, lacrosse. Find it all, CountySports.zone. It's all brought to you by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. And we are coming down into the home stretch in high school sports season for the year. All right, round 1 of the NFL draft gets underway tonight. And before it gets underway, Rita and I are going to be hanging out with our next guest starting at 6 o'clock over on 105.7 The Fan for the NFL draft pregame show, where I guess we break down what everybody's going to be wearing. I'm not sure what a draft.
Just do a 7-round mock draft, right?
Yeah, I don't know about all that.
You
know what? I did one last night. I did one, and I was actually really happy with it. Like,
you did a full 7-rounder?
Well, I didn't. I only played the Ravens in the full 7-rounder. I didn't pick everyone's picks for 7 rounds.
Sure, you got.
I traded back and got Tyler Guyton at 36. Then traded back up to get Chris Braswell at 56. Kamari Lassiter at 78. Jonathan Brooks, the running back from Texas, was still there at 93. Then Tavondre Sweat was still there at 129. So even though it's not a need, I took him too.
You do this on PFF? What was it?
I did it on
mode?
PFN. Luke McCaffrey at 157. Quantez Stiggers, the CFL guy, at 168. Jaquan Jackson, Ed Reed's nephew, at 218. I was loving this draft. I was having the time of my life.
I don't hear DJ Glaze on there, so.
No, I did not end up with DJ Glaze in this draft. But let's talk more about the draft tonight. Of course, he covers the Ravens and the Orioles over on 105.7 The Fan. He is our friend Cordell Woodland, and he's with us now here on GCR. Cordell, what's going on, brother? How are you?
What's up, Glenn?
Everything good?
Yeah, everything's good, man. It's draft day. I'm tired of talking about it and trying to guess what the Ravens are going to do at the back end of the first round. So I'm kind of just ready to get to it and get this weekend over with.
You know what's funny? When it was funny, Cordell, truth be told, this is probably the least I've ever talked about the Ravens draft, like in my professional life, in the build-up to a draft. The Orioles are so good and so interesting, and the Ravens have the 30th pick, and their need is offensive line, and like everybody's still getting over the the championship game hangover. Like I swear, I have never felt as little hype in town for a draft as I have this year.
Yeah, I think all of that are the contributing factors. I mean, this is a team that, as good as they were last year, and I know Ravens fans may feel differently, but from the outside looking in, I thought it was a successful year for the Ravens to have the best record in the league for most part of the season, to look like the best team, to host the AFC Championship game. I mean, that's not a failure in my mind. You lost to a team that's been there, done that went on to win another Super Bowl. I mean, it's not easy to get past a dynasty that the Chiefs are right now. That's just a fact. The hope is that if the Ravens get there again, it won't look the same. But yeah, I mean, that in conjunction with them picking at 30 and their biggest need being offensive line, which is like the least sexiest pick, the least sexiest position, I should say, in the NFL, probably in sports, to be honest with you. And then, like you said, the Orioles. I mean, the Orioles are doing so good right now. Another win yesterday. People are hesitant to give the Ravens their attention right now, and
right.
I kind of understand why.
Yeah, life is too good at the moment for Baltimore sports
right.
fans. Why bother?
Football is very stressful, man.
Right?
Football is stressful.
But, Cordell, to a certain extent, I agree, and I think I've even written about the fact that I can't pretend like the season they had, but it's still the nature of how they lost in the AFC. Like, if you go out and you lose because the other team just, they're incredible that day, I don't know. I just think it's going to take a lot of people a long time to get over the nature of you stopped running the football for no reason whatsoever. No one said you have to stop running the football. You did that to yourself, and I think that's the difficulty that people will continue to have about it. And I get it. Let's cover the draft, and we'll talk about Rashod Bateman. I come around to, I just think it's as simple as either there's a tackle that they like at 30, or I think they're trying to move back and get picks. Where are you with what happens tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of there. I do believe that while their philosophy is best player available, I think that they're looking for the best offensive lineman available, and I don't think they're necessarily leaning on it has to be a tackle. I think that they're looking at offensive linemen in general. I mean, look, they've got 3 open spots on the O-line. 2 of them are guards right now, and I know they have what's his name that they drafted last year that they're Andrew Voorhees, right? Voorhees that they're thinking is going to take one of those guard spots, and that's probably going to be the case. But he's a rookie in himself, so you have to kind of look at him that way. So I think that they're going to be looking for guys that maybe can play multiple positions on the offensive line, which kind of seems like the way to go for offensive linemen these days anyway. But I also don't think that they're married to the idea that they have to draft an offensive lineman in the first round. I do agree that if there's not a lineman there that they want, they will start to entertain trade offers. But if they have to stay at 30, I would not put it past them, even with the extension to Rashod Bateman, to draft a receiver. If a guy like Xavier Worthy's there, I still wouldn't put it past them to draft a cornerback. If there's a cornerback that they really like there, Kool-Aid McKinstry really falls. I've seen a lot of mock drafts, mock Cooper DeJean to them. I mean, I don't know how they really feel about these guys, but I just don't think that they're married to the idea that it's offensive line in the first round and nothing else, simply because I think they're going to draft multiple offensive linemen anyway. The question will be how big of a drop-off is the lineman they could get at 30 compared to the lineman that'll be available to them later on in the draft. I think that's the question that they'll have to answer.
So let me cover a couple of things there. Cordell Woodland with us. To an element, I agree. Like, part of the problem is just looking at what's likely to be there at 30, because while I would certainly agree they could use a guard too, I just don't think there's a guard. After Troy Fontenot goes, I don't think there's another guard that's in play at 30. There are some centers, and that just you could say, hey, one of those guys could slide over and play guard, but that just sort of seems like square pegging, round holing things that you don't need to do. So that's why, to me, it comes off as either there's a tackle there. I certainly would still prefer to have edge rush in the conversation, but again, short of like Chop Robinson falling, I don't know that I see there being an edge rusher sitting there at 30. The wide receiver thing is difficult for me, man. Like, I hear you, but you brought back Rashod Bateman, and you're going to try to get both tight ends involved. If they're in love with somebody, always there's the best player available thing, man. I don't know. I think cornerback is absolutely practical. I'm struggling with the idea of them going wide receiver again in the first round, given everything they have.
Yeah, I mean, and understandably so. Like you mentioned, they have a lot of skill positions. But I just think I do think they need a slot wide receiver. They don't have a slot wide receiver right now.
That's fair.
I'm sure they can play inside and out, but I do think they could use a slot wide receiver. Now, that's not to say that it has to be a guy that they draft in the first round. I mean, they could they could take anybody later on. Last I checked, Tyler Boyd is still available on the open market, so they could go that route if they wanted to. But they do need a deep threat as well, and it seemed like they really, whenever Bateman did get the ball most times, it seemed to be on the deep ball. They weren't really connecting on them, but they tried. I don't know if I would categorize Bateman as a deep threat. I think he's a guy that can make big plays. Sure, he can beat you deep, but I don't think he's a deep threat. Zay Flowers made plays down the field, but the thing is, most of his down the field plays came off-script plays. A lot of those plays weren't in rhythm. They weren't on-time passing plays, whereas Lamar taking his 4 or 5 step drop and then letting it go to Zay Flowers deep. It's usually Lamar getting out of trouble, scrambling around, and then finding him. So I do think they could use a guy that has game-changing speed to add to this type of offense that they've been building. I mean, I think we saw last year what speed could do for this offense when we saw how Zay Flowers really picked it up. Obviously, you have the Lamar factor. We saw what Keaton Mitchell's speed element did to this offense. I look at a guy like the reason I bring Worthy up is just because I think he's one of those people that could really change how teams have to defend the Ravens if you get a guy with that type of speed on the field. I mean, I'm just thinking about some of how defenses are going to have to play them now with Derrick Henry there. They're going to load the boxes. You think to some of that play action passes and you get guys like him and Zay Flowers to get one-on-one matchups. I just think that'll be a nightmare. But that's the problem with them being at 30. I just think there are so many possibilities on the table.
Well, and as a lot of people brought up, I think that getting a prototype, right? Like I still think that should be in play, and we'll see. We're chatting with Cordell Woodland, 105.7 The Fan. You'll hear him with Rita and I tonight, 6 o'clock, ahead of the NFL draft. Cordell, because we brought it up a couple times, the news yesterday about Rashod Bateman, I think, caught a lot of people by surprise. I know there was a rumor floating out that it was a very team-friendly deal, but that hasn't been confirmed yet, so we'll continue to kind of wait on the financials of it. But I never understood why everybody was in such a rush to try to trade Rashod Bateman. It didn't make a ton of sense to me, short of you can get back more than you would expect to be able to get back for him, so why not? I feel like it's a weird conversation for me. I know the production hasn't been significant, but it's hard for me to put that on Rashod Bateman. The film doesn't lie. He constantly gets separation. He constantly gets open. I can't define why the connection hasn't been there between he and Lamar Jackson. Like, I don't get it, but it's hard for me to blame Rashod Bateman for that. I think largely he's done his part, and it makes sense for the Ravens to say, we got to figure out how we can make this work moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a up and down situation for Rashod Bateman since he's been drafted to Baltimore. And the biggest issue is that he and Lamar just haven't had the opportunity to consistently build on their chemistry. It always has a kind of a pause at some point. I think back to 2 training camps ago when Bateman was healthy, and this was the year that everybody was pushing Rashod Bateman as wide receiver 1. They had moved on from Hollywood Brown, and Rashod Bateman was the clear-cut guy. And I remember days in training camp where he and Lamar would look like that connection was just out of this world, crazy good. And then the very next day, these dudes couldn't connect on anything. Right. They just wouldn't be able to connect on anything. And then let's go to last year's training camp when you have Zay Flowers there, you have Odell Beckham, you have Nelson Aguilar, and Bateman is working himself back in again. And look, there were days when Bateman was out there where even despite what I had seen up until that point, the day Bateman came back, I'm like, oh, this dude is the best wide receiver they have on this team. I mean, he's literally gliding on the field. He's so smooth of a route runner. He's got deceptive speed. I just thought that the dude has crazy potential. But he would take a day or so off for which is a part of his plan to get back on the field and have the healthiest year that he had this year, where he was more available than not. And in between that time, guys like Zay is able to build his chemistry with Lamar. Nelson Aguilar is building his chemistry with Lamar. Odell Beckham as well. And it just felt like everybody else was able to kind of seamlessly not only build that connection with Lamar, but keep it. Whereas Bateman and Lamar, whenever they're they have a day off or an off day the next day. It just seems like they hit a reset button on their chemistry every day. So they've got to figure that part out. They have to. And the metrics look cool. It's cool to talk about Bateman getting open and all of that stuff, but it means nothing if the production isn't there. And it's a two-way street. Lamar's got to get him the ball more. He's got to make an effort to look at him. But I think also Bateman has to build that rapport with Lamar and get it to the point to where his quarterback trusts him. I mean, Lamar will throw contested balls to Isaiah Likely and Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews, but he won't give Bateman those opportunities. I think it's something there that Bateman needs to kind of take the initiative, because Lamar's not going anywhere. And Bateman, I guess, isn't either for the next couple of years, but he needs to kind of step out there and try to figure out a way to pretty much force that chemistry to be at the level that it should be.
Yeah, I don't know, right, Cordell? I don't know how it's maybe a psychological question as much as it is a football question, right? Like, what do you do in order to make that happen? Do you send them on a retreat somewhere, like make them go do trust falls together, something like that, and do a ropes course together and problem solve? I don't know what to make of it, but yes, I get it. To me, that's got to be also on Lamar. Like, they got to go back and say, dude,
no doubt.
Do you see him? Like, he's there. He's open.
I mean, and I've talked to Lamar about that in the last season. I remember during the season I asked him, in basketball, a point guard kind of has a feel of who needs the ball and when and how to get them the ball. You go a couple of possessions and LeBron James hasn't touched the ball. You're like, all right, I got to get him the rock this possession. And I asked Lamar if he kind of feels that way with his receivers and specifically with Bateman. And he had said it wasn't necessarily that way for him. He didn't look at it like that. He said it's all in the design of the play. So I guess it's like, all right, for a guy like Todd Monken who's drawing up the plays, why is Rashod Bateman the third option on what seems like 70 to 80% of your pass plays? Like, why isn't he? Why aren't plays being called to get him involved? Definitely earlier and more often. That's what it seemed like to me, because just from Lamar's answer, it seemed like he's going through his progressions. And I mean, I've seen the same tape that everybody else has seen, Bateman popping open. Ideally, it's like, how do you not see him? But if his progression is leading him to one side of the field and Bateman somewhere else getting open, that's just kind of in the design of play. And I'm not absolving Lamar from any blame. Like I said, it's a two-way street. He's got to get him the ball as well. But it's just so many. I just don't think it's as easy as you got to look at Rashod Bateman more. Like, I do think there's some sort of structure.
And obviously, it would be crazy to say you have to force it. Like, you have to force it, right? Like, I don't have all of those answers, but it just feels like somehow that skill set is there, and you got to figure out a way to make it work, because it's kind of crazy that it hasn't worked more frequently than it has to this point. All right, if there's any one wild card for you tonight, like any one off the wall, if this guy falls, like any one wild card that could be in play for tonight, what would it be?
For the Ravens?
Yeah.
I don't see him falling, but if a guy like Kool-Aid McKinstry fell to them at 30, I would imagine the Ravens are kind of jumping for joy. He kind of fits the bill, I think, for what they're looking for out of their defensive backs. He's a physical guy. He's versatile. He can play a couple of inside or out on the defense. He's aggressive. I think he could play in the AFC North. So if he's there, I think it could be interesting. I'm just curious to see how it unfolds, because like I mentioned before, I do think obviously offensive line is a big factor for them. I'm just curious that if they get to 30 and maybe there's an offensive lineman there that they like, but he's not the best player available. Like, there are wide receivers better. There are corners better. I wouldn't necessarily go the Chop Robinson route, because I think he's more of a developmental pass rusher. And I just think if you're drafting in the first round, it's over. The Ravens have kind of lost me when it comes to developmental pass rushers in the first round. We're still waiting for Oweh to come around right now. So I would use that pick on somebody that you feel like can actually make a true impact today. So I that's why I said I wouldn't be surprised if it's wide receiver, but I'm kind of leaning that it could be wide receiver corner over an offensive lineman, even though that's the bigger need.
All right, at Cordell Woodland on Twitter is how you follow him, and so you'll be with us at 6. Then you're headed out to the castle, and you'll be checking in during the course of the night. Correct?
Yep. I'll be there with you guys to start the show, and probably maybe halfway through, I'll head out to the castle and start getting ready for the draft.
Very good, Cordell. Always appreciate you, man. We'll talk to you tonight.
Thanks, guys.
It's Cordell Woodland with us here on GCR, head of our NFL draft coverage tonight over on 105.7 The Fan. I am, and I know a couple people responded to Cordell's comment about wide receiver. I would still be surprised by wide receiver in round 1. Now, again, I will constantly default to if they love X player.
Oh, because his name is Xavier Worthy. Okay, I see what you did there.
If it's Ladd McConkey, if it's, whoever it is, A.D. Mitchell, that's the guy that I, would be, more inclined if they were to, if you told me they're taking a wide receiver at 30. For you, who is it? I'd probably come back to A.D. Mitchell. I just, in part because of the depth of wide receiver in this draft, because they did get we didn't really talk about the Bateman thing, because it happened after the show yesterday. I am really interested in seeing the numbers. I know our buddy Spencer Schultz put a number out there that he had heard, but I love Spencer. He's our gambling guy. He's not our Ravens reporter, and so I'm gonna wait on that before it's not a knock at Spencer. It might very well be correct. I'm not saying he doesn't have people that he's connected with. It's just I don't operate with things as fact until someone with a little bit more depth as far as their sources are concerned corroborates that for me. And it's not, I want to make that abundantly clear. I'm not saying Spencer's wrong. I'm just not operating as though it's fact until I have a little bit more about that. If that was definitively it, I would think that would have been quickly corroborated by some other people. Be great news for the Ravens if it is, because that number is a very, very friendly number that he put out there. I'm not, short of getting something overwhelming in a trade, it really didn't make sense to me for the Ravens to move on from Rashod Bateman. I hear what Cordell is saying, that some of this ends up on Rashod Bateman. And to an extent, yeah. But, there really is a part of this. I don't know what more you want him to do other than get open and be available. It's not as though he never dropped the ball, but, again, the Pittsburgh game, everybody dropped the ball. So, it's hard for me to have that conversation because, again, everyone dropped the ball in that game. I have seen the skill set with Rashod Bateman where it looks like he's capable of being the guy. Derek Mason, maybe even with a little bit more. But I get it. We haven't seen it nearly enough for anyone to be confident about it. This is not Rashod. The way that we talk about Rashod Bateman is crazy to me. This isn't someone who's unreliable when it comes to catching the football. He just doesn't get a lot of balls thrown his way. So he's not become a your typical number one wide receiver because the ball doesn't get thrown his way that much. But I like everything about Rashod Bateman, the football player, short of him not getting enough balls thrown his way. So I'm good with the Ravens bringing him back and keeping him around. He, to me, was always going to be part of the solution. He is not part of the problem to me. That, to the point, doesn't mean I think it would be crazy if they were to add another wide receiver. It just feels like the combination of what you have, where your needs are, plus the amount of wide receivers that appear to be quality in this draft. I don't think 30 makes sense for wide receiver at this point. Here's the way I would describe it. I remember we had this conversation with when we were talking to Luke Jackson about Jackson Holliday when he was down at spring training. He was like, if Jackson Holliday's anywhere close, he should be here. And that's the PPI. Okay, PPI.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
I was about to say PPR, but I think that was from the COVID pandemic. Wasn't that a term that we used?
That's
Wasn't
for
that
fantasy football?
but point per reception?
Yeah.
But wasn't there like for the respirators or something? Wasn't there?
Oh, yeah, it was like
Or a protection?
PPV? No, it was
PPV.
like,
There was something.
yeah,
Whatever it is. Anyway, the moral of the story being,
not the point.
not at all. If it's anywhere close, you put him on the roster so you can take advantage of the PPI, right? And I would say that in that scenario, if you get to 30, you can't move out. The guy that you like, the guy that's at the top of your board as a wide receiver, to me, it's got to be that he's significantly higher on your board than an offensive tackle. If you've got two guys on your board, let's just, for the sake of the conversation, let's say it's Xavier Worthy and Tyler Guyton, and they're more or less neck and neck. Like, whatever your system, you've got Xavier Worthy at an 8.6 and you've got Tyler Guyton at 8.55. I'm taking Tyler Guyton. I'm not saying that need should always be. Now, if you're saying Xavier Worthy's a 9.4 and Tyler Guyton's an 8.7, then yes, take that guy. But if it's essentially the same thing, that to me is when positional need comes into play. And it would be reckless to say we basically think they're the same player, but we have this guy, an armadillo's hair ahead, so we'll just go with him, even though we don't really have a need that necessarily there.
Well, armadillo hair is kind of thick, isn't it?
Is it? I don't know.
If they were to trade back,
idea.
would they be more likely? Do you think that would mean they're more likely to take a lineman or a wide receiver than presumably early in the second round?
I think that the story is that's where the lineman and wide receiver is where everyone seems to believe the talent is throughout the course of the first three rounds. So I don't know. If they trade back, it could be for either one. They got to address the offensive line. I feel like they have to, and I wouldn't look. I think they're going to address wide receiver as well. The funny part being, like, there is sort of a drop-off. It's weird because we don't think that there's an edge rusher at 30, but we're also not sure that there's an edge rusher at 62 either. Like, we weirdly think that there's some edge rushers at the top of the draft, and then there's a couple of edge rushers between, like, 36 and 50, but after that, it kind of dries up again, is the consensus among everyone we've talked to. Again, that doesn't mean that they can't find their guy, and a lot of people think they know what they're talking about, ultimately don't have any clue what they're talking about in this process. But the consensus is, throughout the first three rounds, plenty of offensive linemen, plenty of wide receivers. Not quite as many edge rushers.
And maybe it is like...
It's weird, too, because it looks like cornerback might be an area where that's where you can find something at 30. If you're stuck at 30, you could end up... Cooper DeJean, or to Cordell's point about Kool-Aid McKinstry, if he happens to fall.
Nate Wiggins.
Nate Wiggins was, I think Daniel Jeremiah's last mock draft had Nate Wiggins being the pick for the Ravens at 30.
Lock it in, yeah.
It looks like corner might be the spot where it just happens to be that talent falls to you at 30, and you say, well...
And if they're prioritizing interior line over, a tackle, then it seems like there's a lot of day two... guards out there.
It does feel like that way. I just don't know why they'd be prioritizing interior line over tackle. Like, they'd have to really love Daniel Faalele for that to be the case. And maybe they do, right? Like, maybe they are that confident in Daniel Faalele that they don't think that tackle is the bigger need. I think that a lot of us believe that tackle is the biggest need, not just because of the need at right tackle, but because we think that you should be looking for someone that maybe could also be your left tackle within a year or two. So... I would struggle with the idea of interior O-line being the priority. And again, it's weird. It's the same thing with guard, right? Like, there's Troy Fountainu, and then it kind of seems like it drops off from there. And Christian Haynes, the kid from Bowie, went to UConn, is thought of as a second-round pick and is sort of like the next guy specifically among guards. But the centers is where you find the talent again. But you got your centers, so you'd be square peg, round holing it, as I said a second ago. God, I'll be ready for this. Now that
or
we
they're
have
really
to do
confident
it,
McCary and becoming a full-time starter.
It feels like they want to have him be available to play the role that he's been playing. Yes, to your point, if they have committed to the idea of McCary just being a starter, then that does change the conversation. But it just seems like they have been so committed to this being a position that they want him to fill that I gotta be surprised by them changing that at this point, unless they needed to, unless they just got to a place where we don't trust the right tackle and we didn't get our right tackle, so we have no other option than to play Patrick McCary as the right tackle. All right, we got to get a break because we're going to talk to Dante Trader, and we got a lot to do. So let's grab a break here. When we come back in, Maryland safety Dante Trader joins us next, GCR.
Hey, Birdland, celebrate Orioles manager Brandon Hyde on Saturday, April 27th. Watch the Orioles take on the Oakland Athletics at 4:05. Be one of the first 20,000 fans, 15 and over, and receive an exclusive Brandon Hyde 2023 AL Manager of the Year bobblehead. Come out early. Gates will open 2 hours prior to the first pitch for Early Bird Saturdays with happy hour, live music, and more. Join in on honoring the O's skipper and buy your tickets today at Orioles.com/tickets.
Hartford Community College will host the National Junior College Athletic Association's 2024 Men's Lacrosse National Championship and Women's Lacrosse Invitational on May 11th and 12th at Hartford Sports Complex, 401 Thomas Run Road in Bel Air, Maryland. The semifinals on May 11th include the Women's Invitational, with the Women's North A representative playing the Mid-Atlantic B representative at 10 a.m., and the Women's North B representative facing off against the Mid-Atlantic A representative at 12:30 p.m. For the men's championship, the number 1 seed will play the lowest remaining seed in the quarterfinal round at 3:30 p.m. The men's number 2 seed will face off against the highest remaining seed at 6 p.m. May 12th is reserved for the national championship games at noon for the women and 4 p.m. for the men. Tickets are $20 each day at HartfordEvents.com or at the gate if available.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flights Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
Oh, honey, we better stop for gas soon. Let's pull into that Royal Farms.
Ugh, gas is so expensive.
Nope, it'll be cheaper than you think.
Why's that?
I signed up for Rofo Pay on the Royal Farms app. Now we save 15 cents per gallon at all Royal Farms.
Wow, that'll save us a ton of money. I love you more every day.
Well then, don't get a speeding ticket this trip, okay?
Sign up for Rofo Rewards and upgrade to Rofo Pay and save 15 cents a gallon on gas for a limited time. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
The Toyota Tacoma comes in a range of models and trim lines, so you can choose the perfect Tacoma to reflect your unique personality and driving habits. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Tacomas from your local Toyota dealer today.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis, ajmichaels.com.
Coming back in here with Glenn and the other guy, Garrett, whatever his name is. You know who they are.
All right, back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Thursday edition of the program. Stan the Fan Charles will be getting together with Eric Garfield coming up this afternoon. in order to talk Orioles prospects. That's at 5 o'clock, facebook.com/PressBoxSports. If you miss it live, you'll be able to see it at youtube.com/PressBoxOnline or PressBoxOnline.com/video. This guy's probably going to be hearing his name called about a year from now in the NFL draft, but getting ready for a spring game on Saturday. We had to do this a little bit earlier on. Opportunity to catch up with McDonough's own Dante Trader right here on GCR. Well, coming up this Saturday in College Park, the annual Maryland football spring game at noon. And joining us now here on GCR, someone who we've always enjoyed our conversations with. He is a McDonogh alum. He is Maryland safety Dante Trader, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Dante, it's Glenn. It's always good to catch up, man. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Thanks for having me.
Everything good in your world, man? I know you're a busy dude. I see you do, like, whether you're podcasting or like playing chess, like you are. You stop playing two sports and you still somehow find a way to be like the busiest man on the face of the planet.
Hey man, I can't sit still. You can't keep all the eggs in one basket. You gotta diversify yourself a little bit. So I like to do that, but I'm a little extreme. But
So tell me about. I thought the chess thing was fascinating. I don't know what happened. Who ultimately ended up winning the chess tournament?
Chance ended up beating me in the championship.
Oh.
We kind of everybody guessed it was going to be me and him in the championship because we play a lot more than the other guys. But yeah, he got me.
Where does your love for chess come from? Like, where did you pick that up, and like what got you interested in chess to begin with?
I ain't gonna lie, a lot of the guys on the team it stemmed from Talia. Because in camp, a lot of the older guys, you don't have to spend as much time as we did with the coaches or like figuring out the playbook. So we were bored. So he played chess, and Leah would teach me how to play chess. And me, I'm very competitive. So every time he was beating me, I kept getting mad. So I was like, all right, every time you beat me, I'm gonna go back and study and watch it on YouTube and stuff like that. So that's kind of where it stemmed from.
Man, so a lot of people talk about how like football can be a chess match. Do you find any parallels for like? Do you find yourself thinking maybe 3 moves ahead more now on the football field after having played chess the way that you've been playing for the last couple of years?
Yeah, there's definitely some similarities. Like chess keeps you on your toes, and like especially in life, it allows you to be able to have a counter or move a certain way, and then obviously playing aggressively, offensively or defensively, depending on schematics of anything. You always got that look ahead. So yeah, I find myself planning. Okay, if I get this look and I'm going to move here and I'm going to alert this before that. So,
wow.
Chess ultimately strengthens your brain power.
So how are you as a competitor? After you lose in the final, do you find yourself like immediately trying to push for like doing this again, like in the next couple of months? Or can you be cool about it and wait till next year? Although I guess at that point you might not be around to do it. Like, how do you handle this?
Oh yeah. You kind of just gotta, me after I was like so drained because chess is like, it like literally tires you out. So I was like, I don't want to play chess for a good 2 months. But then after that, I'm ready to play. So I've been playing a lot lately. So yeah, I want to play soon.
So besides Chance, who else actually can compete with you on the team?
There's a lot of guys that weren't in the competition that had either class conflicts or other things going on that that are really good. Like the Guzman, one of our linebackers.
Okay.
There's a bunch of guys on the team that are pretty good.
Man, that's cool. I really thought that was a cool thing that you guys are taking that up, and I imagine like there's even other things that come from that. Like just doing it together has got to be beneficial for your group, right?
Oh, most definitely. It's camaraderie and doing something outside of football and showing our light outside of the gridiron.
That's awesome, man. Dante Trader is with us here on GCR as we're getting ready for the spring game on Saturday. Dante, I guess, I mentioned it earlier, but part of the story is, you haven't played in all of the spring games, right? Like you've sometimes had other things that you were doing. Take me back a little ways. The decision to go back to just committing full-time for football, walk me through the thought process of it. Is any of it just sort of saying, hey, like this is what my life is going to be moving forward? Like as I work towards the NFL, I want to give everything to playing football?
All right, so I'm gonna just open it up because I haven't been answering people's questions about.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that was a thing. I'm sorry.
Let's talk about it.
Okay.
To be honest, I'm gonna be honest with the fans. I just lately made a decision not to to play. I was like toying around with it in my head and, you know, on the lacrosse side and football side. But ultimately, you know, my body and stuff like that I was like, I don't know if I want to take the risk again because, you know, you're going to be playing on 2 years and you're not nonstop going into, you know, lacrosse to summer training to football to, you know, and God have let me play to the league. Then I'm going into training, then, you know, combine, then straight into rookie minicamp, you know, stuff like that. So that's a long process without a break. So, you know, I had to ultimately make that decision. I literally made that decision this week. And I was like really like missing the boys. I was like, man, I'm going to go back. I was like, you know, and all the fans are wanting me to go. I was like, man, you literally, it was like a split decision. I was really about to come back, but, you know, ultimately I had to set it down for my body's sake. So I had to, you know, kind of be a little selfish because, you know, the risk on my body.
No, I completely understand that. Is it tough for you? Like, are you able to watch? You're like, dude, I can't even watch if I'm not out on the field because I feel like I could be out there helping, and I don't want to think that way.
Oh, I love watching.
Okay.
You know, especially because those are my brothers out there still. You know, after a year playing with them, I know all those boys, and when you know the system they're playing, it does kind of get hard to watch. He's like, oh, he should have been here. You should have did this. But, you know, I love being in a fan perspective and watching my boys compete.
I appreciate that. So what does being there for spring practice and being a part of the scrimmages and the spring game on Saturday, you have been through it before. What does it do for you? What does it do for this team? As clearly, you know, you guys are continuing to build, succeed, coming off another bowl win, another solid season. What does the spring do for you at this point in your career?
Right now, as an older guy, to me, it allows me to become, one, a student of the game because I'm learning more stuff that I already don't know because I already know the playbook. So now you're learning more interesting of the game, watching more NFL tape, watching your old tape of small details like a footwork, your eyes, how you play certain things, and you're going in detail on those things because necessarily I don't have to focus on the playbook. Then on the other side, I'm able to coach my teammates, you know, that'll be out there, that'll be subbing me out in the season or upcoming couple of years. So this paying it forward for this next generation coming up. And honestly, it's been good because I've been able to, you know, further along our relationships with my coaches and things like that. So it's been really good.
That's cool, man. Dante Trader is with us here on GCR, the spring game Saturday in College Park at noon. Dante, you know, I mentioned earlier, like, your pursuit. We're seeing, like, Bo go through it right now, right? Obviously, that's your boy, and you guys have been doing the podcast together. What do you feel like? I know that the story is winning. You want to keep winning. I know that. But for you personally, what more do you still want to grow about your game before you make this jump a year from now, and it's your name that we're getting ready to hear in the NFL draft?
I would just say for me, as what I've been working on the most since I've been switched to the boundary is, you know, my run fits and my eyes and my pad level, things like that. And then obviously being a more balanced safety. So, you know, having my eyes in the right spots from every down takes me to where I need to be. And then just not overthinking stuff. You know, I feel like my brain's like a computer in terms of football. So, like I said, like I can think 3 moves ahead. I see this formation or this tight split of this guy, this third down situation, already processing 4 different things. And sometimes being too smart can hurt you. So just, you know, trusting my technique and doing my job and not trying to overcompensate for things and just letting the game come to me. But, you know, ultimately, you know, improving my man technique, my tackling and all that stuff will help me be a better safety.
You know, for the team, right, there's going to be a change, obviously, at quarterback, and that'll be new because it's been quite some time since there's been a different quarterback under center. But sustaining what you guys have been doing and then building off of it, right? And I feel like we've talked about this before. Like, how do you take that proverbial next step? You guys have been so close in some of these big games that you've played against the top teams in the country. Can you define what you believe is like the difference, the small difference between winning games, being good, and being ready to go compete to try to win a Big Ten title?
To winning is hard. Let's just make it, you know, obvious right there.
No doubt.
So, and, you know, everybody's working hard. Everybody's doing the same workouts. Everybody's practicing. So how you're going to separate yourself is your mentality of your team. Your mentality of our Maryland team, you're not going to be given anything. So we got to go take it. We got to be strong-willed guys. We got to be resilient. We got to be very tough, which we show. But where we have lacked and what we're trying to fix is our discipline. You know, those extra penalties that will kill you in those big games if you go rewatch games. So, we're trying to, hone on the discipline of our team to allow us to win and capitalize on these games. And that's really the biggest thing is mentality and discipline. Because if you don't have the mentality, your team is going to roll over when you face adversity or, you face a good team or things and stuff like that where you got to perform. And then just the discipline, it comes down to, are you going to be disciplined to stay in your gap? You're going to be disciplined to do your job. You're going to be disciplined not to throw a punch. You're going to be disciplined not to say certain things. Ultimately, those things come back to haunt you. And all phases of the game.
I'm glad, Dante, you brought that up, right? Because I think that's been brought up a few times. Like just the penalties, right? Like things that it feels like you should be able to control. Like you have the talent, you have the ability, but you just can't let those things get away from you against these top teams. Like they're going to take advantage of that.
Most definitely.
So that's the thing you got to work. It makes all the sense in the world. This thing that you guys have done in the spring, I mentioned it earlier, like going up to Baltimore and doing an event at Morgan, being in D.C. last week. I don't know, maybe creature comforts, you'd rather just do everything at home, but, like, has it been cool for you, who's someone who's been here for a little while through high school, to go take the program throughout the regions? Is it something that you think that the program would benefit from continuing to do moving forward?
Yes. Me, I'm the guy of giving back, and how I want to be remembered, somebody that gives back. And when you walk into a room, you want somebody to, notice who you are because of what you do for the game. And what Coach Locks allowed us to do is go out in the community and, have younger generation or have fans that don't normally get to see us practice other than the games that can't get out there. We go talk and meet and greet them. They get to see the Maryland Terps in their backyards play. And I feel like that's the greatest way of giving back. And, going out to Baloo was, very amazing just to see the amount of people we got to talk to, the kids that were out there. They got to see us practice in another element. And, that could have sparked somebody to go say, hey, I want to go to Maryland. Hey, I want to go to their spring. I want to go to their game. So, one, you're giving back to the community. Two, you're allowing more fans, and the better the fans of the situation, which, ultimately is why Coach Loxley is doing a great, tremendous job here at Maryland, capitalizing the whole image of Maryland.
That's cool, man. That's really cool that you have that perspective for it, and I appreciate it. Dante, what's the role of the defense? Obviously, big subplot of spring football for Maryland has been alluded to the quarterbacks, but what is the defense's role in trying to make sure that these guys are tested and are able to perform their best as they try to solve things on the offense? Like, you guys want to compete, but do you feel like a level of responsibility to help push these guys for whoever ends up getting the job?
Yes. And that's everybody's favorite question is the quarterbacks. It's our job every day to, do our standard. We have a standard with Coach Brian Williams brings every day. He talks to us. We set a level. We can't let the offense rise to our level or beat us that day, or we didn't do our job. When we raise that level, we got to keep that pressure on because ultimately it's a team and we bring them to the level of us. You know what I'm saying? So if, we're practicing hard, they're going to practice hard. If we're doing good, they're going to try to do good because ultimately it affects them. It's a competition, but, I feel like selfishly I've told all the quarterbacks, I'm going to make the pitcher change on, play little mind games and, these chess games with y'all to help y'all. But ultimately, I've helped all these quarterbacks that help me. I'm like, so Billy, MJ, Cam, Saray, Sam, I'm like, what do y'all see on this? Why'd y'all throw this? Or what'd y'all throw this? And they're like, okay, Trader, what'd you see on this?
That's
what
cool.
made you lean here? Things like that. We talk a lot about that. Obviously, you want to compete, but after, you got to give them the tips to help them be a better quarterback.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. All right, now the most important question: what's the future of the podcast once Bo, gets drafted this week and has a new NFL home? What's the plan moving forward?
I'm gonna hold it down, and I'm gonna do what I can with the podcast, and hopefully he can get some big guests on there so we can get this podcast rolling. But ultimately, the future of this will be, our way from the game because it's fun. We could talk all day and chop shop. So when we get into the league, that's going to be something like the Kelseys have going on, things like that.
No, but I've actually genuinely enjoyed the content you've done with other athletes on campus and trying to compete against each other. I thought that's been really cool, man, and a different. It's something that gives different perspective and is different than anybody else is doing. It's the One Speed podcast. Encourage everybody to check it out. Dante, of course, I know it's Dizzy Dante on Twitter and Dante.Trader on Instagram. Is there anything else I can plug for you, man?
Just a One Speed account, man. Help us grow this podcast. Help us grow our identity of, the mindset of One Speed. And, everything you do in life is you got to do it One Speed and give it all your heart. So, and it's the only way we know. So,
man, I appreciate that. And really, I do genuinely enjoy the content you guys are doing. And it's at One Speed Podcast as well on Twitter. And just at One Speed ENT on Instagram, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Dante, look forward to Saturday in the spring game. Always appreciate you, man. Truly enjoy our conversations, bro. Continue to kill it. May you have a massive season ahead, and I have no doubt that we'll be talking again. Thank you for taking the time for us.
Appreciate you.
That's Dante Trader. And again, Maryland spring game Saturday at noon. Appreciate him taking the time for us. Let's go from one area of the state to another, and let's hop out to Emmitsburg, where this week they introduced a new head basketball coach at Mount St. Mary's. He's a familiar face to Mount St. Mary's fans, former assistant coach at the Mount. He returns to the school now as the head coach. He is Coach Donny Lind, and he is with us for the first time here on GCR. Coach, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning, and congratulations to you.
Absolutely, Glenn. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. So, Coach, if I could, I don't know if no-brainer is maybe I'm sure you had to put some thought into it, but given your history at the Mount and what you know about this place, when this became a possibility, how much did you say, oh, I want this job? This is where I want to be at this point in my life?
Yeah, no-brainer is probably the right word. Probably the right word. Yeah, it did not take very long to get there. When I heard the job was available, thankfully there's still a lot of people around here that I know, and so I was able to find out pretty quickly, what was going on and if I kind of fit the profile of what they were looking for. And when I heard that I did, I went guns blazing.
Right. So let's go get it then. Let's go make it happen.
Absolutely.
What is it? I think that a lot of people, anybody who's ever been out for a game at Knott Arena, I think really does understand it. But for people that haven't, can you explain what makes the Mount, and in particular, what makes basketball at the Mount so special and so unique?
Yeah, I didn't even appreciate it really until I left, I don't think, because I had spent 3 years before that at VCU, and, then come to the Mount, and, it's like, oh, this is how mid-major basketball is, right? And then you leave here and you go to some other places that are, similar level or even a little bit, quote unquote, higher level programs that are still mid-majors, and they don't have the same type of support, not even close. To be at a game in Knott Arena over Christmas break with no students, and there's, 2,000 fans in there, going crazy. And it's like, wow, this is special. And, it starts, with the tradition, obviously Coach Phelan and all that he did here for so long, really, just taught this area how important college basketball is. And as that legacy has continued, and obviously winning helps and that, but the people here just have such an overwhelming appreciation and respect for Mount basketball, for its tradition, and then for what, the student athletes have continued to do here. And, the consistency of winning, the way the administration has prioritized men's basketball, and, it's made it a place that's super, super exciting for a coach and for the fan base as well.
We're going to talk about some of the challenges, and I know there are many, particularly in this era of college basketball, but that inherent support, how much does that allow you to say, okay, I know there are going to be challenges, right? Like, we might get talented kids, and then people might come after them in the coming years, but how much does that built-in inherent support just make the job that much, I don't know if easier is the right word, but it's foundational that it doesn't exist in other places?
Absolutely. No, 100%. It's you have a fighting chance against some of those challenges because of the support here, both internally and externally.
Yeah.
Right. That the administration and all the way up through the president, they understand what men's basketball does for this university and for this area. And then, obviously the fan support and the support in the area. So yeah, it helps you overcome. And I think it provides a pretty unique opportunity with the direction that college basketball is going right now. I think a place like this has a unique opportunity in that landscape. And it's just a matter of capitalizing on it and navigating it the right way. And, I think I can help with that.
He is New Mount St. Mary's basketball coach Donny Lind, a Loyola alum, by the way, and he is with us here on GCR. Coach, let's openly talk about it, right? Like the thought, the perspective from those outside is, well, every time you have a good player at a place like the Mount, you're not going to be able to count on having them very long because someone's going to come get them. And right now, like you still have to build almost a whole roster as you end up getting this job a little bit later in the cycle. How do you overcome those things? Do you just accept them and say, hey, I know that's part of the job, that's what I'm going to have to be working against each year, or do you try to combat them in some sort of way moving forward?
Yeah, I believe the Mount could be a destination for kids. I really do. I think that you have to combat that. And I've been fortunate enough, for the last 8 years at both Radford and UNCG, we found a way to be below the norm in guys transferring out, good players transferring out. And sure, it still happens, obviously. And there's guys who get opportunities that, I would tell my own son not to pass up. And those you're not going to be able to change. But it's the kid who, is marginally okay as a freshman or a sophomore, right? And they think the grass is greener. Those are the ones that we've got to fight to get them to their junior and senior year. And I think it starts first and foremost with building real and authentic relationships with these young men. And as coaches, it's so easy to get bitter and say it's just transactional. That's the nature of college basketball right now. And I still believe that this is a transformational business. And we have an opportunity with these young men to help them become who they really, really intend to be. Go ahead.
No, go, please. I'm really fascinated by it. Please keep going, Coach.
Yeah, and I just think that if we continue to make that what this is about, then you can fight that that perception and that belief. And it's going to take a culture shift because you're right, Glenn. There's been a time here, especially at places like the Mount, where it's viewed as a place that you can use to elevate yourself as a player and go get to the higher level. And I think maybe in the NEC, when the Mount was in the NEC, it was maybe a little bit more of a logical thing. But now in the MAC, I think it's a league that you're playing against really, really good players every day. You're playing against guys that are going to go play for a long time for a lot of money.
Yep.
And you don't need, but even with the shift in leagues, that maybe that opinion hasn't changed yet. And so one of my things I'm going to fight is that.
Is that, as you pointed out, you were there when it was the NEC. Is it more difficult in the MAC to compete, or is the nature of, hey, all these other programs are going through the same things that we'll be going through, has it kind of evened the playing field a little bit within that league?
Yeah, and I think the MAC is a more difficult league, period. We got to have better players.
Right.
But I think that the NEC, like I said, the NEC felt to me then, and probably still now to the teams that are in it, that it was you felt like you had to rebuild it every year. I think that there's a opportunity to have more sustained rosters and continued success in the MAC. I think there's some teams that are showing that now. Quinnipiac brings back basically their whole team from last year to this year, and obviously the elephant in the room when it comes to that is the NIL piece and what that's going to play in that in the retention of student athletes. But I believe that it's that the relationships still matter, and that there's still a place for student athletes wanting to be really, really good players at the right level for them. And it's my job to build those relationships and make sure I'm educating the guys on that. And like I said, I'm not super unrealistic to think that we'll never lose a really good player.
Right.
But I think I am, I'm stupid enough to think that I can keep, some good players because of the relationships and the what we're going to be able to put in place for them over the course of the next year.
Well, you mentioned too, I know how much support there is out there. Is it enough support that there almost can be an NIL factor even at the Mount? Like that there are people that are willing to maybe step up and help out in that department out there?
I mean, that's what me and my AD are here figuring out. He announced it or quasi announced it at my press conference that, we're starting the collective and we're getting down that road. And, and now it's about educating the fan base and getting them to understand, that the great part about the fan base is that they've been loyal for so long.
Yeah.
But the bad part is it's the so long piece sometimes. And we've got to educate them of where the game is going and where college athletics is going. And I'm fortunate that I've been at the mid-major level for the last, my entire career. And so I understand the difficulties that come with starting something new, starting a collective. I just went through it, for the last 2 years. And so I think I can speak to our fan base and those people who maybe give, but are a little uneasy about giving to a collective versus giving to the, to the Mount Club or how to balance that. And so I'm excited for the challenge. I think it can be, I just went through it, and I think I can, there's enough support here that we can make something happen.
Coach, the other element, right, as we talk about, other programs that might come after your players, I do wonder, and I don't know how much you dealt with this or this was a part of the plan at Greensboro or at Radford, is it reciprocal? Like, are you also, whether it's you yourself or someone on your staff or involved in basketball operations, looking at high majors and guys that haven't cracked through and gotten the minutes or it hasn't clicked? Is that now part of, like, whatever word we want to use, recruiting, portaling, whatever this is that part of the process to try to find players that are at higher levels that it hasn't worked for, that it just might be a better fit at somewhere like the Mount?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I don't think the Mount's a place that you go get 10 players out of the transfer portal. I think that with this community and the tight-knit nature of it and that, but I think that the transfer portal, it works both ways, right? We have to be open to looking at any student athletes, whether they're high major players that didn't quite crack through or Division II players that are really, really good, right? Who are looking to play at a bit bigger stage. But, and so, yeah, absolutely. We have to be, we got to find really, really good players regardless of where they're coming from. I don't believe that you can go one route. I don't think we can get 13 high school kids. I don't think we can have 13 transfers. I think we need to, build a roster that's a mix of all that. And the Mount, like I said, the Mount could be a destination for student athletes as long as they're a good fit for the Mount community, a good fit for how we want to play, and obviously the right level basketball wise.
Coach, how quickly can you get a roster together and be ready to go compete in the MAC? I mean, again, I know you're arriving late and you got a lot to do, but can it be done this quickly, and you can be confident about the team that you're going to have going into the fall with?
I think so. I'm fortunate. The guys who are here, they want to stay here, and there's a good core group of guys that are still here. That were role players on the team this past year, and I'm hoping that with a new coach and a new system and a new style, they may be able to take on a bigger role. We've got 5 or 6 guys to go get, which all things considered is not that crazy this time of year. It's about par for the course in college basketball. So, yeah, it's a little late in the game, but there's plenty of good players out there. I think our staff, me and the staff, as I'm putting it together, is excited about who we can get, and we won't stop until we get them.
No, I get it. And Coach, before I let you go, what does this mean to you, right? As someone who's had to grind and work your way through every level of being on a staff and dating back to being like a manager, right? Like, what does it mean to you personally to now have this opportunity to be a head coach, and obviously to be a head coach at a place that you care about so much?
I honestly, I haven't. It hasn't sunk in yet, really, what it means, and I'm humbled and overjoyed and excited about it, excited for the process and the work that comes with it. I told somebody, my wife and I were talking in right about when the season started, and I had officiated my sister's wedding the year before, and we don't wear suits anymore. So I put on the suit for my sister's wedding. I was like, man, this suit's getting a little old. Like, I need to get a new suit. And in November, I said to my wife, I'm gonna have a couple job interviews this spring. I just know it. I need to get a new suit, And so, I got a new suit around Christmas time, and Brad, our AD, seen me in that suit 3 times now, in the last 2 weeks. And, it's just, it's a culmination of a lot of things, but it's also the first step toward a lot of things. I've had a desire to be a head coach since late in my career as a manager. I was hopelessly optimistic, and I've remained that way most of my career. And I'm the same way about what we can do with this program. I think there's so much ahead for the Mount. It has such a rich tradition, but the future is even brighter. And I'm excited to get to work and try to find a way to figure out how to do it.
I know you've been around a lot of head coaches, including, of course, the last few years with Mike Jones. But is there any one thing, and I'm hoping it's not that, like, we have to have you coach from like the 6th row of the stands. Is there any one thing that you've carried with you most from your time with Jimmy? Because there are very few like him in the world of basketball.
There are. I mean, the lessons, the life lessons that I learned from 18 to 23 as a college student were the overwhelming majority came from him. But no, Jimmy taught me that this is about people, and we're not in the business of coaching basketball. We're in the business of coaching people, and if they feel good about themselves and about their game, and they're going to play better, and. Jimmy wasn't the most sophisticated X's and O's coach in America, but he was one of the best people person you'll ever meet. And our teams overachieved because, we had guys that were played with a free mind, and Jimmy empowered them to be really, really good players. So I think it's that. And honestly, that's been something that's been cemented. I've worked for people all along that just have taught me the value of relationships and the value of the people, the young people that I get to coach every day, and empowering them to be their best.
You say that, but he did once triple team Steph Curry, and that was quite a bold.
I was there.
I
was there. I was on the bench.
What a bold decision that was. It didn't fully work, but the thought process. I was here.
Hey, the creativity was never a doubt. Was never a doubt.
No doubt. Coach, so happy for you. Looking forward to being in touch with you and chatting with you more as you get the train rolling out at Mount St. Mary's. Congratulations. Thank you for spending some time with us this morning.
No problem, Glenn. Anytime.
Thanks, Coach. Coach Donny Lind out at Mount St. Mary's, new basketball coach there. Appreciate him taking the time for us this morning here on GCR. So a friend of ours has stopped by the studio. Our friend Mary Drexler is going to come in and spend some time with us. And still to come this morning, we're going to make a trip to Bowie to chat with Dylan Beavers. So that's all on the way as we continue on a Thursday edition of GCR.
Gambling can be a fun and entertaining experience, but there are risks involved. If you're planning on betting on the game at the casino or on your phone or computer, know your limit, stay within it. Set a budget and a time to stop. Remember, gambling isn't a financial solution, and it doesn't mix well with alcohol or drugs. Know the risks and have a plan before you begin gambling. For free and confidential services, call 1-800-GAMBLER 24/7 or go to helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Discover one of Baltimore's hidden gems at Guilford Hall Brewery. Enjoy dinner in our spacious brew pub, sip a signature cocktail in our outdoor dog-friendly beer garden, or take a tour of our brewery. Discover your new favorite local craft beer. From crisp lagers to hoppy ales, there's something for everyone to enjoy. Pair your brew with delicious appetizers and entrees. There are options for the whole family, but you have to try our fan-favorite giant pretzel. Guilford Hall Brewery, where every sip is a celebration. Visit us online at guilfordhall.com.
Make the most out of every day in your Toyota RAV4. Available in hybrid or gas-only models. A RAV4 can get you where you want to go in style. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new RAV4s from your local Toyota dealer today.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin, and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
Oh, honey, we better stop for gas soon. Let's pull into that Royal Farms.
Ugh, gas is so expensive.
Nope, it'll be cheaper than you think.
Why's that?
I signed up for Rofo Pay on the Royal Farms app. Now we save 15 cents per gallon at all Royal Farms.
Wow, that'll save us a ton of money. I love you more every day.
Well, then don't get a speeding ticket this trip, okay?
Sign up for Rofo Rewards and upgrade to Rofo Pay and save 15 cents a gallon on gas for a limited time. Real fresh, real fast. Royal Farms.
Craving that classic New York deli experience? Look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different. A bar! Atman's has food and drink specials every day. Now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, grab takeout, or hang out at the bar for the next O's game. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915. Find us at Harbor Point or visit atmansdeli.com.
What company has the expertise to make your home healthier by purifying your air and killing all viruses, allergens, and bacteria? A.J. Michaels, Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis. AJMichaels.com.
Hungry? With 7 locations throughout Maryland, Glory Days Grill is always right around the corner. They have wings, burgers, salads, sandwiches, and drinks to satisfy everyone, as well as tons of televisions and sound delivered right to your phone. Glory Days is the best place to watch football or whatever your favorite sport is. While you're there, be sure to check out Goose Flight's Lager, named in honor of legendary Raven Tony Goose Siragusa. $2 of every can is donated to the Goose Flights Foundation. Glory Days Grill. Great food, good sports.
One of the things that's definitely wrong with this country is that this dude still has a job somehow, some way. Glenn Clark.
Back in here on GCR as we continue along on a Thursday edition of the program. And it's good to have Mary Drexler back in studio from the University of Maryland, the Maryland Center of Excellence on Problem Gambling. Mary, it's always good to see you. And I actually enjoy our conversations because I do feel like we all have fun, and we like to talk about betting, and Griffin's betting on something crazy every day. And I do think that we also have an obligation to remind people that, like, hey, we need to talk about this. You need to remember that, like, there are dangers. As much fun as we're having with legal sports betting in the state of Maryland, there are still dangers to betting, and we can't pretend like they don't exist.
Yeah, I'm really happy to be back and just let people know about what help is out there if they find themselves in trouble with their gambling.
So let's revisit a few things, right? Like, let's go back a little ways, because when online sports betting and app betting first came to the state of Maryland, I think there was like sensory overload. Like, everybody wanted to get all of these offers from all of these different gambling companies, and they had forgotten that they had also put money in over at this other place. What have you seen since it's been now a little bit of time? Has there been a stabilizing? Has there been a drop of people that have dealt with gambling? Like, what does this look like functionally now that we're a little bit deeper into legal sports betting?
We're not seeing a giant increase in individuals reaching out for help or their families, but we are seeing an increase, and it's only been a year. So most states have waited 2 or 3 years to kind of see what its impact is and what the ups and downs are. But what we are seeing is a younger demographic. So we're talking college age and young adults who are calling us, some college-age students even using financial aid to bet online, so losing money that way. And then what we're seeing is parents calling concerned about all the advertising on the online, mobile, and sports betting. So
yeah, no, that's a problem. That's
an issue.
That's a problem. So we have talked before about, like, hey, how do you know that something that can be fun turns into a problem? Like, what's the line at which you say, okay, this is no longer a social activity. This is something, or maybe it's not even a social activity, but a fun, a recreational activity, versus, no, this is something that maybe I need to start thinking about whether or not it's gone too far.
Yeah, lying about your gambling activities. So I'm going to this place, but you're actually going to a casino, or you could even be just isolating in your room a lot more and doing more mobile online sports betting. If it's sports betting that you're into, relationships are falling apart because your focus is totally on when can I place that next bet? When am I going to be free? I'm at my job, and I'm like, when am I going to get out of here so I can go in and place a bet? And now you could sit at your desk at your office and be placing bets, and not just on who wins or loses, but on every play in the game, if we're talking sports betting. So those relationships, the lying activity, not paying your bills, spending more money than you can afford to lose, as I mentioned with college students, using financial aid is not the way to go. So there are so many things that can impact, but easy way to find out is if you go to our website, helpmygamblingproblem.org, there is a self-assessment. We'll ask you some questions, and you'll be able to see, am I on the road to developing a gambling problem, and lead you to the resources that can help you.
What if, let's just say hypothetically, you're someone who doesn't really know anything about golf, and you're, I don't know, again, I'm just putting it out there, like the producer of a talk show, and you're putting in like lots of bets about the Masters despite the fact that you know nothing about these golfers. Like just to say, like, hypothetically, if that were to be the case, do you think that like that might be perhaps a problem? You're not really making a lot of money, you're living at home with your parents. I'm not saying that maybe you're there yet where you need to make the call, but let's just say hypothetically someone you know, maybe their initials are GB, might be doing something along those lines.
Yeah, I mean, it could lead to a gambling problem.
All right.
You know, it doesn't mean they have a gambling
That's
problem.
good news. That's good news. Hypothetically.
But they need to be watching. Are they spending more and more time betting? Are they spending more and more money each time they bet? And I don't know if everybody knows, but when you get that big win and you don't take that win and leave, but you start chasing and saying, now I'm lucky, and then you start losing.
Yeah, now you can't lose. Right.
Then you chase the losses. That's what gets a lot of people into trouble.
All right. So, again, hypothetically, Griffin, that friend that you were talking to me about.
Right, yeah, and he's definitely not risking more than he can lose either. So that's,
no,
you're the key.
You're good, 100%. And by the way, we have, correct, that person. We're having fun with this. But I do think it's important because every time you and I have talked, Mary, it's a reminder that, like, your group is not opposed to sports betting. You're not trying to fight the idea or get rid of or say we can't have legal sports betting. It's about making sure that, like anything, we do it as safely as we possibly can.
Yeah, making healthy and informed decisions. If you're going to choose to gamble, then know what some of the risks are and some of the warning signs. So if you find yourself or find the gambling getting out of control, ask for help.
Yep.
Call the 1-800-GAMBLER helpline. Go to our website, helpmygamblingproblem.org. But reach out for help before it becomes a full-blown addiction.
Mary Drexler is in studio with us. Again, that website is helpmygamblingproblem.org, or you can call 1-800-GAMBLER. And Mary, it extends, obviously, it's not just for the gambler themselves, but this is like when we talk about other, and again, we have to use the word addiction when we have this conversation because people don't understand that, and I still think there's also a further stigma about addiction where you don't understand it's a disease. It's not, no one's necessarily, this isn't the way I want things to be. It becomes a disease, but it affects other people, and if you're someone who's, you're worried about their spouse or you're worried about your buddy or you're worried about what would you tell someone who they're not going through it but they're worried about someone else in their life that might be going through it? What do you do then?
Number one, I'd still make the call to 1-800-GAMBLER.
Okay.
Talk to somebody who has knowledge about gambling problems and what resources are available. There are resources for family members and concerned others that are out there. At least 1 in 6, family members are probably impacted in that immediate family, but there's so many other people, friends, outside of that family unit. And here in Maryland, there's no-cost treatment for not just the individual with the gambling problem, but for their family members as well. So you can get and seek counseling, and you don't have to pay. There is a problem gambling treatment fund that will support you through getting the help that you need.
Wow.
And the other thing is we have 6 peers that work for the center, and these are individuals with lived experience with gambling addiction. A lot of people who call the helpline want to talk to them first because they've been there. They've been through it. They're in their recovery, and they can help other people on the road to recovery.
Well, I know that for a lot of people, there's this feeling of hopelessness, right? Like no one can understand what I'm going through. No one can. There is a despair that's involved with this, and it's important to have someone that maybe can understand it a little bit better than maybe say going to your spouse who doesn't get it and is angry at you about what it is that you've been doing.
And gambling addiction is the addiction with the highest rate of suicide. A lot of the factors for somebody who's at risk for suicide are the same for the gambler: the financial loss, the isolation, the anxiety, the depression. So we want to be sure people know how to get help.
Mary, I've never asked this before. Are you looking for more like people that have had experience to become involved as like counselors or peer advisors or anything like that?
We don't actually do treatment at the center,
Right.
but we are currently at the University of Maryland, Baltimore's human resource website looking to hire one more peer. Somebody with lived recovery with gambling. So if they're interested, they should go to the HR resources at University of Maryland, Baltimore.
Wow, that could be a huge opportunity to help impact someone else's life and to maybe save someone's life.
Yeah, and we're looking for someone who's been in recovery. We're hoping at least 2 years.
Okay. Yeah,
so that's
someone
the
who's been, and
so
that
we don't.
Someone
make
who's
it
still
worse.
active in
Yeah,
their recovery.
yeah,
Yes, that can become very, very problematic. But that's huge, and again, that's something. If you are someone who's in that position, I think it can go a long way to helping someone else out. We talk a lot about there's advertising everywhere. Look, we do it here. Obviously, we're advertising. Someone who maybe is just approaching the age of 18, someone who has never bet before but sees all of this, who's not, certainly today, is by no means approaching addiction or where this is a problem. They haven't even bet yet. Someone who just thinks they might want to dip their toes into the water. What's your advice to them about how, again, you can do this, it's okay, but don't let it, not letting it get past that?
Yeah. First, I just want to make it clear that most of the legalized gambling, other than the lottery here in Maryland, you have to be 21.
Oh, sorry. I don't know why I said 18. I know that. I know that.
For
I'm
the
sorry.
lottery,
Yes.
21 if
I
if
did
it's
know that. I
anything else.
swear. I knew that.
I believe you.
I'm sorry.
But the problem is the younger they start gambling, what we're trying to do now is work and do some education in middle and high schools. The younger you start, the more apt you are to develop a gambling problem at a later time. So we're just educating them on understanding that whole concept of, we know kids bet on little things, or a lot of them sports bet, do brackets, do whatever. It's, again, are you putting in $5? Are you putting in $100? And what are your expectations? And with legalized gambling, you need to know that the odds are not necessarily in your favor. So you're taking a risk, you're taking a chance. And we all know that young adults and teens, our brain development is until about age 25.
Well, sometimes later. Let's be clear about that. Sometimes later. I'm 40. I'm still not.
So we're not making good decisions, and it really to think through it. But some kids are also prone because they have family members who gamble. They're seeing it within their unit.
It's what you know.
Yeah,
100%. I get that. If you're maybe watching your 9-year-old son play baseball and thinking to yourself, I wonder if I can get any odds on this, then maybe it's time. Maybe it might be a good time to pick up the phone and call. All right, let's remind everybody one more time, all about the website, phone number, and you can text as well, correct?
Yes, you can call, text, or chat with our 1-800-GAMBLER. And the website for those seeking help, helpmygamblingproblem.org. And we also have mdproblemgambling.com, which is good for a lot of professionals looking for information that they can also distribute.
Mary Drexler, I really do appreciate our partnership and the responsibility that we have to remind everybody that you don't always win and that you do need to be aware of what it is that you're doing. And I've talked before openly. I have had to say to myself, I need to stop. I need to, because I'm dancing on it at times. I have been through that feeling, and I've never, had to make the call because, I haven't gone into full-blown addiction, but I've had those moments where I've said, it's time. I got to stop. I'm taking too much time with it. I'm letting it get away. This is becoming dangerous. So I greatly appreciate the resources.
And we appreciate that you allow us to let people know about where to get help. Thank you.
Again, helpmygamblingproblem.org, 1-800-GAMBLER. Mary Drexler, it's always wonderful to see you. Thank you so much for coming in and spending time with us once again. We're going to make a trip down to Bowie to chat with Dylan Beavers from the Bay Sox next here on Glenn Clark Radio.
Craving that classic New York deli experience? Look no further than the new Atman's Deli in Baltimore's Harbor Point. Corned beef piled high, hand-rolled bagels, and something different. A bar! Atman's has food and drink specials every day. Now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Dine in, grab takeout, or hang out at the bar for the next O's game. Atman's Deli, an authentic taste of Baltimore tradition since 1915. Find us at Harbor Point or visit atmansdeli.com. What company makes your home more energy efficient, purifies your air, kills all viruses, and qualifies you for $6,000 in rebates? A.J. Michaels Heating and Air Conditioning in Baltimore and Annapolis at ajmichaels.com.
Whether your focus is luxury and comfort, convenience and technologically advanced connectivity, or sporty performance and aggressive styling, we've got the perfect Highlander for you. Check out buyatoyota.com for deals on new Highlanders from your local Toyota dealer today.
The ultimate fan experience awaits you at Sports and Social Maryland. See how we're raising the sports bar with our massive 100-foot media wall featuring 40 HD TVs and a 47-foot big screen. Bet on your favorite teams and this year's biggest events at the FanDuel Sportsbook while enjoying your favorite beers and cocktails, plus our delicious takes on bar food classics. Visit Sports and Social at Live Casino and Hotel Maryland at Arundel Mills. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Discover one of Baltimore's hidden gems at Guilford Hall Brewery. Enjoy dinner in our spacious brew pub, sip a signature cocktail in our outdoor, dog-friendly beer garden, or take a tour of our brewery. Discover your new favorite local craft beer. From crisp lagers to hoppy ales, there's something for everyone to enjoy. Pair your brew with delicious appetizers and entrees. There are options for the whole family, but you have to try our fan-favorite giant pretzel. Guilford Hall Brewery, where every sip is a celebration. Visit us online at guilfordhall.com.
The latest edition of Press Box is available now. On the cover, Luke Jackson profiles Grayson Rodriguez, talking to people who have been part of his path as the Orioles hope he'll become their next homegrown ace. Also inside, we remember legendary Maryland basketball coach Lefty Drizel with stories from legends like Roy Williams and Bobby Cremins about what it was like to go up against the old left-hander. Press Box is available at over 500 locations around Baltimore, including 60 Royal Farm stores. You can also find the best daily coverage of the Orioles, Ravens, and Terps at PressBoxOnline.com.
The drug scene in Maryland is changing. Fentanyl and xylazine are being added to street drugs, and you may not even know it. Xylazine is not even intended for humans, and fentanyl is an opioid 50 times stronger than heroin and contributed to over 80% of overdose deaths in our state. Anyone who uses drugs, even occasionally, is at risk of overdose. To learn more, visit stopoverdose.maryland.gov or call or text 988.
The Ed Block Courage Award Foundation has been working in partnership with the NFL for 46 years to support abused, neglected, and at-risk youth across the country, partnering each team with a children's facility or program that supports the well-being of those in need. Annually, one player from each team is selected by their peers to receive the Courage Award for their inspiration on and off the field. Learn more about how the Ed Block Courage Award Foundation makes a difference, and be sure to check out their latest podcast and web series episodes at edblock.org.
Contrary to what some people believe, I actually like this guy when he sleeps. Glenn Clark, talking sports.
All right, back in here on GCR. If you haven't picked up that print issue of Press Box yet, get to your neighborhood Royal Farms, any of the hundreds of locations around town where you find Press Box. You can read it all at PressBoxOnline.com. All right, well, all this guy is doing as we make our trip down to Bowie this week to chat with a member of the Bay Sox, 352, on base percentage of 446, OPSing 983. That's all. I mean, God, I really needs to step his game up, if you ask me. He is Orioles outfield prospect. He is Dylan Beavers, and he's back with us now here on GCR. Dylan, it's Glenn in Baltimore. It's great to chat with you again, man. Thank you for taking the time for us this morning.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
Hey, man, it's great to chat with you. Decent start to the season, huh? Like, I guess this'll do, right?
Yeah, starting a little bit better this year. So glad it's going this way.
Did you, again, walk me through, like, you get to the AA level and you find success a year ago. Do you have to deal with an amount of disappointment if that's where you go back to, or did you know that was going to be the plan to go back to that level for a little while this season? Like, walk me through what all that was like.
Yeah, I had anticipated coming back to Bowie just because it was kind of a shorter sample at the end of the year last year. So I anticipated coming back here, and so I wasn't disappointed to be back. I want to perform early and hopefully keep moving along.
Was there a thought to, like, then I need to go dominate? Like, was that the thought process? Was like, I need to show how quickly I have grown past this level in order to get to the next step?
A little bit, yeah. I kind of just, take it day by day.
Yeah.
Especially with the state of this organization. There's
I hear there's talent.
There's guys. There's guys who play really well, and and many other organizations could be moving along and they don't. So I know that's kind of part of it. So for me, I don't think too much into that. I just try and get better and improve every single day.
Was there, a priority for you going into this season? Like, obviously you've been hitting, there's no doubt about that. Was there a priority to maybe try to add a little bit in the power department? Was there something specific, pitch selection, that you said, hey, that's the thing that I want to put my focus on besides just the overall results?
Yeah. It was definitely, picking up those home runs. Yeah. I felt like last year, I didn't take as many risks in certain counts. So that was a little bit part of it, but it's not like I'm going in the box, just trying to hit a home run. I want to keep the approach I had, the second half of last year, because I felt like I was successful with that. So I want to stick to that, but it was more so something I worked on the off season, just trying to increase bat speed a little bit if I can. And then mainly, I worked really hard on being able to drive the ball to the middle of the field and the back side of the field, because I felt like there was some more damage to be done there looking back at last season. So I thought that if I could improve upon the way I strike the ball to the middle of the field, the back side, that would increase my numbers, my home run numbers naturally.
It's funny because we know that you hit home runs in college, and we know just in looking at you, like, dude, you look like a guy that can just hit the crap out of the baseball, and we see the exit velocities. Is it a difficult thing for you to say, hey, don't force it, like, don't just go up there swinging as hard as you possibly can in case you make contact? That's not the path. Like, is there any part of you that just says, by the way, I'm 6'4", I would like to just go up there and hit the ball 500 feet every time I hit it? Like, do you have to think through some of that?
Yeah. I tried that at the beginning of last year and it didn't go so hot. Yeah. So that was a learning lesson for me. And it makes it so now I'm not really pressing the matter. I'm just getting in there and, thinking about hitting the ball hard, not necessarily the results. So, I've done that before. I'd be lying if I said I haven't, but yeah, it doesn't usually work out. Sometimes it does, but not consistently.
It's going to lead to some strikeouts, obviously. That's just the way that it's going to go when that happens. And I know that there were a few when you were down at Aberdeen a year ago. Was that also kind of part of the progression, is making sure you cut down on the strikeout?
Yeah, that's another one. It's similar, I feel like, to home runs. If you try and hit home runs, you probably aren't going to hit home runs. If you try not to strike out, you're probably going to strike out. So, yeah, it's that's always been kind of a tough one for me, because a little bit in college, I tried to cut down on strikeouts, but if you're conscious of it and think that way, it's generally going to lead to more strikeouts. So, I really, I just build my approach around something, I build an approach that I feel like won't lead to strikeouts. So I'm trying to be aggressive early. So if I can, just avoid getting to 2 strike counts in general. But I don't think I wouldn't say I consciously try not to strike out.
No, I understand that, right? Like, you have a job to do. It's to hit the baseball, and you go do everything you can to go hit the baseball, and I appreciate that. Dylan Beavers is with us here on GCR. Dylan, you alluded to it a second ago. Obviously, it's such an insane amount of talent within this organization that there are guys that 1,000% should be at the major league level that still aren't. It's just the way that it works. There's two ways of looking at it, right? Like the first is, my God, I'm in an organization with so much talent. If I can get to the big league level, I'll probably have a great opportunity at like winning a World Series here. On the flip side, am I going to get to the big league level? Are they going to look to trade me? Like, how much did you think about that type of stuff? Are you able to utterly block all of that out and just say, I can't concern myself with any of it? Or does that stuff, do you think about any of those things as you go about your business?
Yeah. I mean, for me, I just feel like that's something I can't control, no matter what. So thinking about it just kind of is pointless. It adds stress. So, I've, in the first couple of years that I've been here, if you play well, they're going to find a way to get you up if they can. So that's kind of just been my focus. It makes it a lot more simple. I enjoy it a little bit more if I'm not thinking about all that external stuff, just kind of controlling what I can control. And I also feel like I find more success that way. So
does it start to feel real? Like when you have produced as significantly as you have for as now, again, as long as you have, like going back to last season at AA, does it start to is there a moment where it strikes you like I'm good, I'm going to be able to do this, like there is nothing at this point that's going to stop me, wherever it ends up being, like I know now I can do this for a living? Yeah,
definitely. I think especially at AA, it's when you're running into the better competition in the minor leagues. So like there's guys who get called up from AA straight to the big leagues in certain cases, so just being around that kind of competition, that kind of talent even on my team, it's kind of like, okay, I'm not that far off. I'm seeing good competition and having success. So that it definitely gives me a level of confidence. And even if things aren't going good, I've been through adversity, so I know that, eventually it'll come back around. I'll figure it out. So yeah, definitely like playing in Bowie and being around, even in spring training, being around a lot of the big leaguers, getting to face big leaguers. It's like, okay, I'm getting there.
Right. I'm supposed to be here. This is not crazy. You're not swimming in waters that are too deep. You still have to go through the process, but I completely understand what you're talking about. All right. So we talk about, you're big, you can hit the ball. What about, do you get out and play golf much, Dylan?
Golf?
Yeah.
Yeah, I do in the off season. I haven't during the season. I get a little bit too tired, but okay. I'm a casual golfer in the off season.
How hard can you hit, or how far can you hit a golf ball?
I don't know exactly how far I can hit it. I know I can hit it for with a driver further than 300 yards. I don't know exactly how far.
That sounds about right for someone your size. What's that? How does that feeling compare? Like when you stripe one, how does that feeling compare to like when you make, with that sound that comes off the bat when you barreled a ball?
Golf, when you hit a straight drive, I mean, for me, since I don't do it all that often, it definitely feels really good.
Right?
Yeah, it's pretty satisfying. I don't know. They're neck and neck. That'd be a tough decision.
I'm a terrible golfer, right? Like I'm awful to the point where I barely golf anymore. And so like
it's a tough sport.
Dude, the every now and then when I hit one, it's like I'm the man who discovered fire.
It's definitely a nice moment.
I want to tell everybody, I'm like, did you see that? Please tell me you saw that.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I also don't really know what it's like to barrel a ball the way that you do, so I don't know how to compare it.
I mean, they're pretty close, I'd say. They both feel pretty good.
No, I have no doubt that, like, when you hear that sound, you're just like, oh, yeah. That's the one.
Yeah.
Hey, I've been meaning to talk more to guys about this. The ball strike system, the challenge system that you guys have been able to use in the minor leagues. Can you walk me through, like, how good it's been? Have you found yourself maybe using it, or just sort of saying, hey, I don't want to obsess over that? Like, walk me through what it's been like getting adjusted to that system that we assume, we hope, we pray is going to come to the major leagues at some point.
Yeah, so we don't, in Bowie, we don't, in AA, we don't have it.
Okay.
They have it in AAA, and then we did have it for the spring break game during spring training.
Did you use it at all?
So I didn't use it during my at-bats. I thought the calls were fair. But our catcher did use it during, I think, the first or the second inning. And it was a called ball, and he challenged, and it ended up being a called strike, and it just clipped the corner. So I think it could be definitely valuable. I mean, I'd imagine if I was in the 3-2 count and I got rung up on a ball, because that does happen. Umpires aren't perfect. I think that would be definitely helpful if you could challenge and be like, okay, so you're not getting kind of beat by the umpire.
Do you worry that it would almost expand the strike zone? Like, as you pointed out, the ball that kind of clips the corner, that just touches. We see this all the time. I'm a huge tennis fan, so we see this all the time with Hawkeye, where a ball gets a millionth of a millimeter of the line, but technically it got the line. Do you worry that it almost expands the strike zone by the full size of a baseball if you use the challenge system?
Yeah, I mean that I think that would be frustrating, but I'd imagine. I mean, especially before they bring it to the big leagues, if they do, hopefully they iron out all those details and kind of figure out what would be the way to do it.
I get it.
Yeah, but I can imagine that'd be frustrating. But I guess if you learn the zone, learn your zone, then you'll be swinging at those pitches anyway.
You'll know. That's a great point. That's a really, really good point. All right, the Bay Sox are back home starting next Tuesday to take on the Erie Seawolves. Events next week include Military Appreciation Night, Sip and Paint, the Glow in the Park event with a light-up item giveaway, as well as fireworks nights next weekend, Unicorn and Dragons night next weekend, and also an Anthony Santander bobblehead giveaway. All coming up with the Bay Sox. BaySox.com in order to get your tickets. I imagine you're really looking forward to Unicorns and Dragons night, Dylan. That's the one that you guys have been looking forward to all season, right?
I had no idea that was happening, so that's the first I'm hearing of it.
I think they're doing
that. I
think they're giving kids either a unicorn horn or a dragon headband. It's their choice on the way in.
Okay.
So I think that I might have to try to see if I can't get my kids down there for that because
definitely.
And then give me so if you're not playing golf, what do Mondays look like in your life? What's off day look like at this point?
To start this year, it's been travel. Both our Mondays we've traveled. But in spring training, I was doing a lot of fishing.
Okay.
In Florida. And I don't know. I tried to fish up here a little bit last year. I didn't have much luck.
Yeah,
so.
It's not. There's definitely not quite as robust unless you're actually on the bay. Unless you actually get down to the beach, and then you could do it.
Yeah.
Are you capable of gutting, cleaning the fish yourself, everything prepared?
No. I'm a catch and release guy.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. It's just so it's something peaceful, something like the tranquility that comes along with fishing. Is that what it is?
Yeah, definitely. And it's relaxing. Gets you outside for a little bit. I definitely enjoy that part of it. And then it's kind of challenging. I think it's kind of like problem solving. If fish aren't biting on something, switch it up.
That's
kind of there's a lot more that goes into it than you would think at face value. But yeah, I definitely I enjoy it. It's challenging for me. I wouldn't say I'm a professional angler or anything. I'm still learning and getting better at it, but I definitely enjoy it.
Yeah, that was not typically how my uncles and I were fishing when we were younger. It was go have a beer, and if they bite, they bite. That was more the way that we approached it than trying to solve the problem. Dylan,
Yeah.
always appreciate it, man. Thank you for taking the time. In particular, I need this to keep going so that you don't look back on our conversation and say, hey, we can't do this anymore because it was a jinx of the season I was having. So please continue to produce at this insane level, and can't wait to chat.
Okay, will do.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Dylan Beavers with us here on GCR, off to a obviously tremendous start to the season, and maybe perhaps with Heston Kjerstad. Also, who did the Orioles lost? Peyton Burdick, right, this week? He was claimed by the Reds, if I remember correctly. So maybe there's room in there for there to be a bump up in level for Dylan Beavers. I'm sure all our friends the Bay Sox are saying, no rush. No rush. But perhaps that opportunity be coming soon for Dylan Beavers. Appreciate him taking the time for us. All right. Today's show has also been brought to you by Sports and Social, inside Live Casino and Hotel Maryland. No better place to hang out tonight. We're going to be fans of all of the different teams that'll be inside Sports and Social, reacting to every pick. You can bet on different props during the course of the draft. Encourage you to make your plans. You can reserve a table still right now on the Sports and Social website at Live Casino and Hotel's website. Or you can just stop by the FanDuel Sportsbook today, reserve your blue reclining chair to have the best seat in the house for tonight. Or whether it's another night that you want to be there for watching playoff action, watching an upcoming UFC fight, or even the Mike Tyson, Logan Paul. It's Jake Paul. That's right?
Yeah, Jake
Paul.
Yeah.
I said Logan Paul.
He's the real boxer, correct.
Yeah, the real boxer, sure. Mike Tyson, Jake Paul thing this summer. Whatever it is, you can go check it all out at Sports and Social and reserve your spot today to watch those big events. Speaking of big events, I did watch the better part of both playoff games last night because the Orioles played in the afternoon, which was nice. Mm-hmm. The Thunder game, unfortunately, was not exciting whatsoever. It was blowout city. After they struggled a bit in Game 1. They really did struggle in Game 1, but they certainly looked the part. Boy, they really do that bit with the interviews where, like, everybody's got to be in on the post-game interviews. It's a very weird thing. But like
the Thunder are the only ones that really do that.
Yeah,
they?
It's a thing for the Thunder where, like,
they just have the entire starting five.
Well, last night it was somebody else was in there. I couldn't even see who it was. There was a sixth dude that came over to join the interview. Like, they really won't just let SGA or Holmgren do an interview afterwards. Like, everybody's got to do it. There were 6 of them.
Oh, and then 7 of them.
Well, it was crazier, too, because they finished the one with TNT, and then they immediately turned around to do the local TV interview, and it was the same thing. So, like, the poor local TV guy had to stand there waiting for the TNT interview to end, so all of them could then turn around and do the interview. Like, it's just their thing. Like, that's the way that it goes. But they're fun, man. They are a lot of fun. And then if you're the Boston Celtics, losing at home to a Heat team with no Jimmy Butler, no Scary Terry, that is nasty business, as my friend Rita might say. That is some nasty work. I in this print issue of Press Box, which again you can pick up for free at your neighborhood Royal Farms, we were asked for some NBA futures bets for the playoffs. And I've told you all along, like, the Nuggets were my pick. I just think that it's theirs to lose. And so the fact that you could get some better odds because the Celtics came in as the favorites, to me, was music to my ears, that there was plus money. Hang on a second. Let me see what my suggestions were. I want to make sure that I read this correctly.
You can get that.
Yeah, I already said that. I already said that a couple of times. Why can I not find it in here? Did we not include it? Did I waste my time sending this?
Maybe they were like, oh, what was Glenn?
Hang on a second.
Luke was like, why? I'm not publishing this.
That can't be it. That can't be it. I said, Nuggets plus 250 to win the NBA title.
Okay.
And then I said the Milwaukee Bucks plus 275 to win the East. Now, I don't feel good about the Bucks. I want to make that abundantly clear. Griffin's got them getting knocked out in the first round, and they will. Much like the Celtics, just lost a game at home. But this was my point. It seems odd, But the last 3 NBA teams and 4 of the last 5 to win 60 games haven't made the NBA Finals. The 2017 Warriors, the only team of the 5 prior to the Celtics that won 60 games, 60 or more games in the regular season. They were the only of those teams to make the NBA, not just to win the title, to make the NBA Finals. I don't know why that's the case. I don't know if it's the amount of effort that you put into winning that number of games catches up with you. I don't have an answer as to why there would be a correlation between being that good of a team in the regular season and not being able to get the job done in the postseason. But it stood out to me, and I said I don't like the Celtics to reach the NBA Finals because of it. Now, I certainly don't feel good about the Bucks either. And at the time, Giannis wasn't hurt. So that impacted, maybe that's why it is they didn't put I don't know. Maybe I just couldn't find it in this print issue, but it is in there. But if I had known that.
It was more about a fate of the Celtics.
It's had way more to do with I don't love the Celtics to reach the finals. Now, I get it. The other options, like the Knicks should be in a 1-1 like series too, right? Like all the next options should all be in 1-1 series, and I certainly don't feel anything towards the Cavaliers and Magic. So, like,
forget that series is
that's a thing that's happening.
Yeah, forget that's happening.
If there's a world where Jimmy Butler could come back,
that's going to be always on NBA TV, I think, right?
There's almost. I mean, unless there's literally a night where there's only 2 games on, and so like they've got to go on. Like, nobody cares about that series.
It's for the Magic and Cavs.
It's so funny because in the West, it's Dallas Clippers, and like that's a great series. It's just not getting quite as much attention as the other was. But yes, Cleveland Orlando is a dog of a playoff series. Is there a possibility that Jimmy Butler could come back during the playoffs? Like I know they said multiple weeks, but if somehow.
I mean, I guess
like the Heat were to win.
Winning.
Yeah, if they were to win this series somehow, and I still don't think that's going to happen, to be abundantly clear. But my God, losing at home to the Heat, yuck. That is rough work when you're trying to get people to take you seriously as the favorite to win the NBA title. Brutal performance from the Boston Celtics. All right. We good? Anything else we needed to talk about? Can we go ahead and get a tidbit? Get out of here?
Yeah, I guess we don't really have time for any fighting words.
Oh, yeah, it's Thursday. We can do fighting words. Go ahead. Hit the thing.
Thought I hit it.
All right.
Yeah. All right, maybe is that a sun? I hope that's not a sun.
I don't know how much there is to. Oh, we didn't talk about that.
It's Fighting Words with Griffin Bass.
I don't really even have a sponsor I need to give this to.
Yeah, you're right.
Fighting Words is brought to you by.
One anyway.
Yeah, I'll give it to your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com.
Thanks, Toyota.
They're the proud sponsors of County Sports Zone, countysports.zone. We find all the latest in high school sports, scores, schedules, rankings. You can play pick 'em all at countysports.zone. Proudly sponsored by your local Toyota dealer and buyatoyota.com. Boy, that. Speaking of nasty work, Devin Haney, nasty work.
I mean, yeah, it was not a good night for Devin Haney. He was wearing, everyone was making fun of his shoes that he was wearing. He got knocked down.
I don't really care about the shoes part of it.
I was gonna leave with that, yeah, but yeah, he was a massive favorite over Ryan Garcia, who was,
yes,
I mean,
and he should be because Ryan Garcia is an Instagram fighter who didn't give a rat's ass. It appeared about the fight.
He missed weight by 3 pounds and paid his penalty for it.
It cost him $1.5 million.
Yeah. But he went out there and kind of
dominated.
Yeah.
Dominated.
He took care of Devin Haney pretty easily. So yeah, now it's just kind of figuring out what's next for both of them because Devin Haney looked very, very.
Well, it takes like a Tank super fight out of it's. This is the embarrassing part for boxing, is it might be what gets a Tank fight into the conversation. This is the embarrassing thing.
Yeah, to your point,
because it was that bad.
Now Tank is interested.
Maybe I don't know this, but maybe Tank's camp is like, well, if there's no threat whatsoever, then maybe we'll take the fight. Like this is why boxing is so deeply embarrassing, and so it's funny because I make fun of what the sport has become with all of these but maybe boxing did this to themselves. Tank Davis is going to fight. By the way, I guess his win over Ryan Garcia looks better. Looks better now. All of a sudden, we were almost laughing about that being his statement win. Wow, your statement win was that you beat an Instagram fighter. Well, now it kind of maybe looks like more of a legitimate win. But he's going to go fight Frank Martin. Nobody cares. It's just, here's another fight so you can see Tank fight. There's still the hopes that maybe you get a Shakur Stevenson fight at some point for Tank, and that would be,
Yeah, I mean that was what he mentioned something about trying, or there's rumblings that he's trying to get a Shakur Stevenson under his Golden Boy fights or something.
Whose?
Oscar De La Hoya.
Oscar De La Hoya is trying to get a Tank, or he wants Garcia to fight.
He wants,
because Garcia's his guy.
He wants to try and set up a Tank and Shakur Stevenson fight.
How's he gonna pull that into Golden Boy?
That's what he's trying for. I would imagine that
did Tank depart Floyd Mayweather? Then I just missed it.
No.
Okay,
but it would be far away, but it's more about the fact that since Stevenson's kind of a free agent right now, that's why it's just once you get Shakur Stevenson, maybe there's an outlet to anywhere else, I guess.
I mean,
but yeah, Ryan Garcia is now calling for a Tank rematch, and but that would be up at because they fought at
because he wants to move up, right? And they had the rehydration clause that was controversial.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I guess they both made it, whatever. So, but yeah, he wants to fight Tank at 144 now. Ryan Garcia does. So I'm not sure what's next for Ryan Garcia.
Yeah, I'm gonna guess the appetite for Tank to do that is minimal.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree.
I won. Why do I want to fight again? I guess the idea would be now that Garcia is coming off the Haney fight that there would be even more money to be made, and if Tank's camp is confident that I don't know, man. Whatever. This was so weird. This is such a. I'm not a Devin Haney fan.
Yeah.
But dude.
He didn't show up.
Bro. The other guy was drinking beer throughout the week at the press. The other guy was not taking, and you got your ass handed to you. It's over, man. You're just not that guy. It's done. Dunsky at this point. I couldn't believe that. I really couldn't believe that. I didn't bet any money on it, but
neither did I because it didn't seem like there was any money to be made. Apparently, 100%. There was a lot to be made.
There was a lot of money to be made. No question, there was a lot of money to be made.
But yeah, it does not look good for. I mean, yeah, that's probably Tank is probably really Haney's only next best option to for a big payday, and then once he loses to Tank, then he's back to I don't know what's next for him. It's gonna be a lot of lower tiered fights for him. But yeah, then next up boxing wise is Canelo next
Cinco
Saturday.
De Mayo,
yes,
or Cinco de Mayo weekend.
Yes, May 4th.
But I don't even remember who he's fighting. I feel like at this point that's just, hey, Canelo fights on Cinco de Mayo weekend because that's the way that things work, and you'll watch, no matter who he's fighting if you're a boxing fan.
Jaime Munguia.
You tell me.
I thought I had something about him. Munguia.
We can talk about it next week.
Yeah,
we don't need to talk about it now. There is a UFC card, right?
There is a UFC card. There's not much. There's not much to watch for in this card. The undercard is one of the worst that I've ever seen. There's a little bit on the main card. It's Mateus Nicolau versus Alex Perez. It's a flyweight fight here. Nicolau should win. Alex Perez has fought the top guys in flyweight, but has not had a win since 2020. The thought is hopefully whoever wins this, then they become, the number one contender. The next week is the UFC pay-per-view, and it's the flyweight fight. Pantoja is defending his flyweight belt, so, it could be an opportunity for whoever wins, but overall it's a pretty underwhelming card. Austin Lane, who was drafted to the NFL, he's fighting.
It's an old friend of ours, actually.
Oh, really?
He used to be a regular. He was We are friends with his agent, and so we got connected with him, and he was a radio show host down in Jacksonville, so we put him on whenever there was something going on between the Ravens and the Jaguars. love Austin Lane. Austin Lane, good, except for the time that he lost to Greg Hardy.
Yeah,
that was really.
He's also a big underdog this weekend. I don't love his chances against a guy named Janata Diniz. I don't love his chances, unfortunately, for old friend Austin Lane. The one fight I am excited about, Tim Means is 40 years old, Dirty Bird. Tim Means, he is fighting Uros Medic, and I think Tim Means is a very live underdog here. So the bet I'm going to be placing it is plus 3,000 for Tim Means to win by submission in round 2 or round 3.
Bold. That is really bold.
I mean, Medic has never been knocked out. Tim Means, Tim Means should not be underestimated. Tim Means is coming off of a win in his last fight. He knocked out Andre Fiallo, who everybody thought was kind of an up and coming guy at welterweight, and he knocked him out at 40 years old in round 3. So
plus 2,000.
Plus 3.
Plus 3,000.
Submission in round 2 or round 3.
If you or a loved one has a gambling problem, again, call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit helpmygamblingproblem.org.
Yeah, but Tim Means, he's your brother, same age as you. You should be backing this guy.
I just have a legal obligation to support all the 40-year-olds.
Put on for the 40-year-olds.
Or maybe
Tim Means.
Or maybe say, Bubba, it might be time.
When he gets this win,
Our backs
no,
hurt.
not going to be time. Also, so then on the parlay I have for you is Deniz to beat Austin Lane, Victor Henry at minus 500, and then Mahashate to beat Gabriel Benitez in the fight opener. If you parlay those 3 together, it is plus 138.
All right.
So I like that as well. And then the U.S. Wrestling Olympic trials were this past weekend as well.
A couple of locals, or I say a couple of Maryland natives anyway, that did punch their tickets.
Yes, that is correct. Aaron Brooks beat David Taylor, which was a pretty stunning upset, but very, very cool for Aaron Brooks, a 4-time NCAA national champion. The U.S. won 9 medals across the 12 divisions.
Not just Aaron Brooks. Helen Maroulis, of course, back in the
yes.
Olympics again this year, and Kyle Snyder back in the Olympics as well.
Correct.
Were there any others from the area? Pat Downey didn't make it.
No, Pat.
Tough times for Pat.
Pat Downey did not make it. But yeah, so they had 3 gold medalists. None of the 3 gold medalists are back. So it'll be interesting to see if they can get back to gold for the U.S. in the Olympics this summer, as it was Tamira Mensah-Stock. She retired and she's doing it WWE stuff right now. And then Gable Steveson is now in the WWE as well. Neither of them are back. And then David Taylor was the other gold medalist who lost to Aaron Brooks. So it was stunning upset for Aaron Brooks, but maybe he'll be able to make some noise at the Olympics this summer.
We'll find out.
But yeah, those are the top storylines in the fighting world from the week.
All right, very good. That's Fighting Words. Do it every Thursday here on GCR. Tidbit and Tubular will be brought to you by Atman's Deli in Harbor Point. Everything you love about the original Atman's now with a full bar. atmansdeli.com to get your order in. Atman's Deli, Harbor Point. What we got for Tidbit?
So here, hold on, I have to find it. It was LeBron James, of course. They're playing they're playing the Nuggets tonight. The Lakers are, and LeBron has lost now 8 games. He's lost his last 8 games against the Nuggets, including the playoffs. He has never lost 9 consecutive games against any one opponent in his career. So, see if that changes tonight I was going to call it Staples Center. It's Crypto.com Arena?
Crypto.com Arena, yes.
Yes, okay. So yeah, we'll see if LeBron can avoid losing 9 consecutive times to any team for the first time in his career. Otherwise,
I'm going to say no.
Well, okay. You think he wins?
No, I think.
You think he loses?
I think yes. I think they had their chance. The Nuggets sweep.
Yeah, you're probably. Maybe they. Yeah, I mean, if there's one,
if there's one, it would be this one. I get it, but I think the way that they lost game 2. I think
deflating.
I think that was your chance.
The most quarterbacks ever taken in a first round has been 6. That was back in what year was that?
Oh God.
And name them. No, don't name them.
Was the Jake Locker Christian Ponder year? No.
No.
What year was it?
6 quarterbacks in 1983.
Oh, the famous '83 draft. That was, of
Yes.
course, Dan Marino and John Elway and Jim Kelly and Todd.
I don't have the list in front of me, so you.
It was Todd Blackledge, right? Was in that draft because he was the one that kind of didn't work out. Oh God, who are the others? Oh my God.
Hold on, I'll find them. I'll find them here. We had Elway.
Yeah, Elway, Marino, Kelly, and Blackledge. I'm confident about. Who are the others?
15th overall to the Patriots. 24th to the Jets. 27th to the Dolphins. Wow, everyone in the AFC is needed. Every AFC.
I already said Dan Marino. I said it like 3 times.
I didn't. Okay.
Yeah,
I believe you.
I got 4 of them.
Yeah, I said every AFC
the other 2
team though was drafted a quarterback in the first round.
Patriots.
You just won it.
Well, no, that wasn't what the division looked like in 1983.
Oh.
Yeah, that wasn't.
Did they change the divisions?
Yeah, there used to only be 3 divisions in each conference. The other. So you said to the Patriots.
Patriots and Jets.
The Patriots.
UC Davis.
It's not Zolak. Oh,
no.
UC Davis.
In Illinois.
Oh, is that Eason? Tony Eason?
Tony Eason out of Illinois to the New England Patriots. One pick after Jim Kelly.
And then the UC
with Dan Marino still on the board.
Yeah. Didn't think about that ever again. The UC Davis to the Jets.
Also with Marino still on the board.
I don't remember. Who is that?
That was Ken O'Brien.
Ken O'Brien.
The most offensive players ever taken was 19 3 times.
Of course, the Colts took John Elway, but then immediately traded him for Chris Hinton and other things.
Interesting.
Chris Hinton played in Baltimore for 1 year and then played the rest of his career in Indianapolis.
I guess it wouldn't really
Chris
matter.
Hinton was a nice player. I mean, it was a really quality player.
Do we see the 19-player record broken in the first round? 19 offensive players drafted in the first round.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, there won't be any running backs.
Yeah, there won't be any running backs.
There'll be 1 tight end.
We'll see.
There'll be 1 tight end. I guess the question becomes, so we know that 3 wide receivers will go quickly, and then
could we see 6 quarterbacks, 6 linemen?
Yeah, I don't know about, whether or not all 6 quarterbacks are going to go.
How much the 5th year plays a role into anybody back late in the round.
I mean, there's some rumors that teams are wanting to trade back in to get a 5th year on offensive linemen. I think the offensive lineman is what drives whether or not that's the case, because it's the question of, do all of Jordan Morgan and Kingsley, oh God, why I can't think of his last name.
The BYU kid, yeah. Suma.
Yeah. Does all of that group end up going? And yeah, I think that's a fact. Or if they don't, is it because of wide receivers going there instead, or a quarterback? Yeah, I don't know. I would have to really sit down and go through the math to know if somebody asked me how to bet that, I would have to really go through the math.
All right, and then quickly, Gunnar Henderson reached 200 hits in his career. He is the 6th youngest Oriole to reach 200 hits in his career. I believe Masson put this on the broadcast two nights ago or something.
I don't remember seeing it.
It was quick, and I made sure I jotted it down. 6th youngest Oriole at 22 years and 300 days. Who are the 5 other Orioles at 22 or younger to reach 200 hits?
I'll assume Manny Machado.
Manny Machado is number 1. He was the youngest at 21 years old in 2013.
Carl Ripken.
Carl Ripken is on the list. 5th. 22 in 262 days. Gunnar, 22 in 300 days.
I'll try Brooks Robinson.
Brooks Robinson at 4th. Gunnar, Cal, Brooks.
Pretty good
in
group.
Descending order. 2 more you're missing with Manny at 1. 2 and 3.
I'm trying to think of other guys that came up at young ages. Oh, Nick Markakis.
Not Nick Markakis. They would be before your time. It was 1978 and then 1963.
Eddie.
78.
63.
He was 3rd on the list, and then 2nd youngest. He was the youngest until 2013 when Manny broke.
63. Is that Boog?
That was Boog.
Okay.
Boog at 22 years and in just 4 days, just turned 22.
All right.
And reached 200 hits in his career. So,
All
but
right.
that is a pretty solid list.
Man, I had wanted to do this. We're running low on time. The Ravens put out this. Who are the 5 teams since 1996 to have drafted the most AP first-team All-Pros?
So since 96.
Since 96. Since the inception of the Baltimore Ravens.
So it inclines you to say that the Ravens.
Yes, you would think that would be the case. The Ravens are the most.
Wow.
19. 19.
Most All-Pros.
And yes, you're going to have to try to name all of them.
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
19.
but go ahead and name the other teams.
The Patriots.
Patriots, number 2, 16.
Packers.
Packers not on the list.
Niners.
Niners are tied for 4th, or they're number 5, if you want to say, with 14.
Niners, Patriots, Ravens. Steelers.
Not the Steelers.
Interesting. Since 96,
Mhm.
most All-Pros. Really
First team
good.
All-Pros.
First team All-Pros.
Remember, they didn't have to earn that with the team that drafted them.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So who just drafted the most?
Drafted someone who turned out to be a first-team All-Pro.
Let's go with the Cowboys.
The Cowboys have 15. They're 3rd. And then the team tied with the 49ers.
That would be the... That would, of course, be the Kansas City Chiefs.
Not the Chiefs.
Seattle Seahawks.
Not the Seahawks.
That would mean that it has to be
Right.
the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, not the Bears. That's a weird guess.
Well,
I mean, I can't think of
been
how
around
many.
since '96.
Like Urlacher and Hester and
Justin Fields will be.
Maybe. I hope not.
Not this year.
Yeah, I hope
not this year. Or next year.
Yeah. Didn't I read somewhere they're not picking up his 5th year?
No, they're
option?
not.
I don't know.
Let's see. Go with darn. Why is this?
Yeah, there's only 32 teams, so I feel
know.
like
The Raiders.
not the Raiders,
Broncos.
not the Broncos,
Because it's the Bills.
not the Bills.
So it's the Bengals.
It's not the Bengals.
It's the Colts.
It's not the Colts.
Oh, man, really?
Yeah. That would have made a lot of sense. Yeah.
Who?
It might be your 30-second guess.
I know. So it's the Vikings.
It's not the Vikings.
That means it has to be the Saints.
It's not the Saints.
Because it's the Bucks.
It's not the Bucks.
So it's Atlanta.
It's not the Falcons.
Oh, the Eagles.
It's not the Eagles.
Really?
Yeah.
Definitely not Washington.
Not Washington.
Okay, it's not Washington. That didn't count as a
Yeah.
guess.
Right.
That one didn't count.
Oh, okay. Be your 31st guess.
Right. So it is the. It's not the Jets.
Not the Jets.
Because it's the Giants.
It's not the Giants.
Okay. The Rams franchise.
Not the Rams.
This is ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
It's not the Cardinals.
It's not the Cardinals.
How is this?
You're running low
I
on
know,
teams.
I'm
You should be getting there eventually.
Is it the Titans?
It's not the Titans.
Not-
It really is going to be your last guess.
It's not going to be the Jags, the Texans, or the Panthers.
Not the Jags. It's not the Texans.
It's not the Panthers. What?
14.
The Panthers?
The Panthers.
Really?
I mean,
I would.
Steve Smith, Cam Newton, Luke Kuechly.
Maybe another linebacker in there.
Christian McCaffrey, obviously. Yeah, I'm running look too, dog. 14 for the Carolina Panthers. All right, 19 players drafted by the Ravens.
Oh, my God.
Have earned
Ray Lewis,
AP.
John Ogden.
All right, settle down.
Ed
Yes,
Reed,
obviously.
Terrell
Okay,
Suggs.
okay. Settle down.
Patrick Queen.
Lewis Ogden. By the way, not Patrick Queen.
Oh, he was the
Lewis
second team.
Ogden, Reed Suggs, yes.
Linderbaum.
Linderbaum was not first team.
Jeez, really?
Mhm.
All right, Lamar.
Lamar, yes.
Stanley.
Stanley, yes.
Marlin.
Marlin, yes.
Andrews.
Andrews, yes.
No wide receivers. No, there's no wide receivers. Am I really forgetting one? Who? That they drafted?
Technicality.
Oh. Who did they draft that became a number of first-team All-Pro?
Technicality.
Who?
Technicality.
Yeah, wait, who did they draft that went on to become a first-team All-Pro?
The technicality is that they played wide receiver, but that might not be why they were a first-team All-Pro.
Devin Duvernay.
Devin Duvernay.
Interesting.
Not the only one.
Was Tylan Wallace?
No.
Yeah, no. They played wide receivers. There's another guy that played wide receiver, but not necessarily that they drafted.
Mm-hmm.
Jermaine Lewis?
Jermaine Lewis.
Okay.
Jermaine Lewis.
What am I at?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you're missing 9. Boy.
Felt like I was making ground.
Only 2 of which did not. So 17 of them were first-team All-Pros with the Ravens. 2 were not.
Okay. So I don't know. I don't have those 2. I don't think was Chris McAllister a first
Chris
team?
McAllister was a first-team All-Pro.
Justin Tucker.
What?
Oh, he's not a first-team All-Pro?
Justin Tucker's never been a first-team All-Pro?
Was Sam Cook?
What is the point of the list?
Yeah.
Not Sam Cook either.
Any other special teamers? Are you allowed to give me that or no?
No.
Or
No one
technicality?
else. No one else who was
All right,
special.
so no more
teamer.
special teamers. Darn.
Nope. Some in here that are kind of shameful that you haven't gotten yet.
Yeah, all right. I guess I'm missing
some of like the greatest players in franchise history that you're missing from this
Jarrett
list.
Johnson.
Not Jarrett Johnson.
Okay. So that means Bart Scott wasn't
No.
first team.
No.
Who am I forgetting? Samari Roll.
No, what? And they also didn't draft
They didn't draft
Samari.
Samari Roll.
What? The F is that?
Just a guess. That's all.
It's bad. That's a bad guess.
McCrary.
Oh my God, this is painful. They also didn't draft Michael McCrary.
Oh, they didn't?
No.
Where did he come from?
He was in Seattle.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know.
All right, let me try to bail you out. Again, I can't believe I said some of the greatest players in franchise history and you didn't come up with a couple of these.
Yeah, me
like,
neither.
One who's legitimately going to end up in the Hall of Fame.
Marshall Yonda.
Thank you. One who probably won't make the Hall of Fame, but it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up being a finalist. I think he was eligible for the first time last year. First round pick out of Oregon. Oh, boy.
Yeah, why do I not know this one?
Also known for his rugby highlights. Oh, my God. Oh, my God.
This is that person, but Todd Heap?
Well, Todd Heap is on the list.
right.
No, wait, sorry.
He's not?
He's not,
Aye.
which is crazy. I'm stunned by that. Holy F, you really... What is going on here?
I'm blanking. I'm blanking on my Ravens. I'm sorry.
Jim Nantz pronounced his name differently than everybody else, and then we found out that Jim Nantz had it right all along. Oh, my God. Super Bowl champion.
Super Bowl champion. In
Super Bowl
2012,
47.
He was
drafted practically at the behest of Ray Lewis. Like, Ray Lewis specifically asked, maybe not for him, but this type of player to soak up some double teams.
Oh. Haloti Ngata.
Oh, my God.
Haloti
One
Ngata,
of the greatest
of
players in
course.
franchise history. Speaking of one of the greatest players in franchise history, from the Super Bowl 35 team, a running back out of Tennessee.
Jamal Lewis.
Oh, God.
I know.
Painful. A current Baltimore Raven who just made his first team All-Pro.
Who did I forget from the list that just made it? Duvernay, Lamar. Linderbaum's not a first teamer. Kyle Hamilton.
Kyle Hamilton.
Yes.
This one a bit trickier because, he was a hell of a player, but he started as a running back, then it was converted to fullback, and it was fullback where he made a first team. Layron McClain. Someone who's not Bart Scott, but was actually better than Bart Scott, but didn't get quite the same attention as far as a linebacker. But, my God, he practically played every defensive position during his time with the Baltimore Ravens.
He was drafted in...
His rookie season was 2000.
Oh, darn.
Yeah, went on to the Patriots afterwards. Still lives here. Owns a restaurant. Great guy. Was known by the first two letters of his first name.
He was... Where?
War number 96.
Shoot. I'm
shoot.
struggling. I mean, I'm gonna know it, but I don't.
Shoot.
These hints aren't doing it for me.
Went to Southern Miss.
Oh.
Drafted in the 6th round.
Darn.
Boy.
Yeah, this is bad.
Boy, this has been one of the more painful exercises we've ever done.
I mean, I'm sorry I slowed down.
It's not the fact that you didn't get him immediately. It's that when I'm telling you literally everything there is to know about the player, you're still not getting him. Adalius Thomas.
Oh, Adalius Thomas.
Jesus. And then the two who did not make it as Baltimore Ravens, but ultimately went elsewhere. One was an offensive lineman from Iowa State. I assume he made it with the Jets, but I don't actually even know that. Where did he become a first-team All-Pro? He became a first-team All-Pro with the Raiders, apparently.
That wasn't Illuminor. Was never a.
Not Jermaine Illuminor, no. This was a second-round pick in a year, if I remember correctly. The Ravens did not use a first-round pick. Is that right? Do I have that part right?
So this is what 11-ish? No.
No, this was 2012.
Who did they draft at O-line? Ben Grubb? No.
No, Ben Grubbs was before that. Their first pick in that draft was indeed Courtney Upshaw in the second round. They did not use a first-round pick in 2012. Their second-round pick was an offensive lineman out of Iowa State.
Yeah, I'm just going to keep showing my ass here, I guess. This is
so bad. So bad. Kelechi Osemele.
Kelechi Osemele. Good player.
And the last one on the list, another fullback. Kyle Juszczyk did not make it as a Baltimore Raven, but did become a first-team All-Pro with the 49ers. That is your list. I'm going to do that on the radio later today. We're going to have fun with that and see how Rita does. What does that smell?
I smell that as well.
Should we be concerned about that smell, or is that
It's not that.
I can't tell what it is. Can't tell if someone just burned their lunch next door and that's what it is. I don't like it though. I don't like that smell.
Yeah, neither.
Think somebody's trying to smoke us out? You think that's what this is? You think this is the moment?
These guys have been on for almost 3 hours.
Right, let's get out of here.
He couldn't name a single Raven.
Yeah, this was pretty embarrassing. All right, tubular for tonight.
Trying to do me a favor.
It's just end the pain, end the suffering. Put him out of his misery.
Is that burnt toast? Yeah.
It doesn't. It's bad. All right, here tonight, the NFL Draft does start at 8 o'clock on ESPN, ABC, and the NFL Network for round one. Baseball today, Masson, Dodgers, Nationals at 4. It's also on MLB Network nationally. MLB Network has Red Sox, Guardians at 1, Padres, Rockies at 4, Athletics, Yankees at 7. MLB TV, free game, Brewers, Pirates, which is just getting underway. ESPN Plus, Phillies, Reds at 1. NBA TV, of course, for Cavaliers, Magic tonight at 7, Game 3 of that series.
I'd love to see.
I could not even tell you what the results. Did the Cavaliers win both games in Cleveland? I don't even know. I genuinely have no idea what's going on in that series.
I don't know either.
No one does. It's a thing that's happening. It feels like the NIT. TNT and True TV for Knicks Sixers Game 3 at 7:30. Nuggets Lakers Game 3 at 10. TBS Panthers Lightning Game 3 at 7. ESPN 2 Hurricanes Islanders Game 3 at 7:30. USA for Brighton and Hove Albion and Manchester City at 3 o'clock, and Golf Channel for round 1 of the PGA Zurich Classic down in New Orleans at 3:30. Access TV for Impact Wrestling at 8. Some non-sports highlights?
No, there are not. What did you think the score was of the series?
I'm going to just guess that Cleveland won the first 2 games.
They did, yes. Okay. Well done. Now they're in Orlando, so who knows?
Yeah,
who knows what's going to happen?
And who will ever know?
I guess we'll know in about, a week
yes,
and
when
a half.
they play somebody else, exactly
the
right.
winner of the
Boston-Miami series.
Yeah. Yeah, there's nothing. Velma Season 2 is out on HBO or just Max.
Who is it that plays Velma? Is that Jenna Ortega?
No, it's I think it's Mindy Kaling.
Oh, it is Mindy Kaling. That's exactly right.
Yes. That is.
That's it?
Yep, those are really no late nights. There's nothing going. I think there's another episode of the Conan Show on HBO Max as well. So
very good. Thanks today to Dylan Beavers. Thanks also to Cordell. Thanks to Dante Trader, to Donny Lind, and we'll get all that up in the greatest hits section of the
Oh my God, it's so good.
tab at GlennClarkRadio.com. Stan will be in tomorrow. We will, of course, be discussing what the Ravens do or do not do during the course of the NFL Draft. Is Bo joining us tomorrow?
Yes, Bo
will join us tomorrow. And, again, we'll see based on if they make a pick. We'll try to get somebody relevant on to discuss the pick that they make. If they don't make a pick, then we'll dance. Fun morning. Thanks to everybody at PressBox, all of our great sponsors and partners, including Live Casino and Hotel, Atman's Deli, A.J. Michaels, Guilford Hall Brewery, Royal Farms, Ed Block Courage Awards, HelpMyGamblingProblem.org, Costa Sin, MSAA, Hartford Community College, Glory Days Grill, the Baltimore Orioles, your local Toyota dealer, buyatoyota.com. Thanks to Griffin at Griffin_Bass. Follow us, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Glenn Clark Radio. Have a great Thursday evening. I'll see you over at 6 o'clock on 105.7 The Fan.
Oh, me too, yeah.
Oh, are you producing that?
Yeah.
Nobody told me that.
I think I am, I guess.
All right. Well, we'll find out. Duke sucks.